Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 426. One step closer to 500.
One step closer. I mean, you're looking at 74.
It's another year and a half, and then some. Yeah, year and a half.
A little less than that, but sure.
Okay, well, do we need to get a calculator and start splitting freaking hairs here? 52 weeks in a year. Yep. We're live for about 50, probably.
No, we're live every week, Terry.
We
do miss. Every once in a while, we'll miss a holiday.
Let's call it 50.
Okay.
And so, what do we have? 74 to go. 50 plus half of that.
25.
75, and we have 74 to go. I couldn't be much closer with my estimate.
You could have been. You could have been right on, Miller.
Anyway. Welcome in, everyone. I'm so glad to be back in studio next to this jackwagon. It's been crazy to think that there's actually been plenty going on here in the last week or so. So we'll have plenty of things to talk about. And, you'd like to say it's like almost kind of officially the first week of the off season, second week, I guess, depending on how you want to look at that, depending what hairs we're going to split again. Yeah, welcome in, everyone. Tonight, we're going to have Holly Finley. She's going to join us actually in just a few minutes. There was 8 tiers taking place this weekend, and spoiler alert, she won one of them. Only one. She couldn't win them all, but she won this one.
Did she try to win them all, though?
All of them that were taking place this weekend, I don't think she could get into multiple places, but
probably
she did take down the Down East Players Cup. So as our champion, she's going to join us in just a few minutes. We're also going to quickly talk about the big money skins. Maybe more in depth, we'll talk about the overall weekend and project.
I took 3 of those skins.
We are not going to spoil. No one believes that. We are not going to spoil the actual skins outcome. I know plenty of you know what's gone down, and that's fine. And I know I've said it before, Johnny and I are firm believers in that you really can't spoil live sports, but then this didn't really go live.
This isn't really live sports, though, because it wasn't broadcast live.
Yeah, so that's why I'm adhering
and that
to
in itself is part of the story.
A little bit of the, yes, exactly. So I'll adhere a little bit to the non-spoiler component of that for this weekend. We may get an update from GK Pro if there's anything else that they need to add in. Of course, we had them last week. And
how young and chipper they were, how excited they were a week ago, and
yes.
The sun was shining, the birds were chirping,
the eagles were crossing,
were crossing.
Yeah, well, in good, understandable fun and sympathy and empathy, we know that there were some struggles. We'll talk about that, of course. So, and then there's other things we'll get into, whether it's in the after show or regular show. If you need to pause for a moment to go sign up for the cold turkey, please do. More than 50% sold out on both my Saturday and Sunday divisions. There's a flex start that's now been scheduled. So if you're in the, within 2 to 4 to 9 hours of Milwaukee area or southeastern Wisconsin, and you feel like you need to sign up for my 17th annual cold turkey, which takes place right after Thanksgiving, the registration just opened, and both days are more than half full. So I'll get that quick plug in there. Maybe it'll be sold out by the end of the show. I don't know. By the time you're listening to it on the audio podcast, it'll be gone. So get out there and get signed up. All right. Pretty exciting stuff.
It is some exciting stuff.
Let's, before Holly joins us in a moment, let's quickly touch on this upcoming weekend. In that there is a Silver Series event from the Disc Golf Pro Tour that's taking place at what is now, I'll say, the famed Lake Marshall facility. And I have not been there. I have just heard glowing reviews of how incredible it is, how good the course is. I haven't seen any coverage and all of that. But it sounds as if there's a challenge in providing a live or getting a live signal from there. And so the Disc Golf Pro Tour, I believe, is talking about kicking off the 2023, we'll say, wraparound season. It's kicking off. That's a Silver Series going on this weekend, 3 rounds over 3 days, and I think we're going to see post-production from all 3 days.
We will. Originally, they were talking way back when on our production calendar. They were actually looking at hopefully being able to broadcast live for 3 days. I think that had kind of been talked about a little bit, but this was this was months ago, and just, through a lot of research and site visits and things like that, they found out that Lake Marshall currently can't support a good enough cell signal or for a consistent broadcast. And so what they've decided to do is, rather than cover the Lake Marshall Open, instead that's all going to be post-production on the DGN, and instead they're going to move over to the NADGT and do one round, just the final 9 live for each division, MPO and FPO.
Similar to what we saw.
Not MPO and FPO, but because they're
men's and women's.
Women's division.
Similar to what we saw last year for that finale event. We'll talk more about it later because we got a big announcement.
Ooh, it is a Smashbox exclusive.
It really is a Smashbox exclusive, but we'll put that on the back burner because coming into us from some undisclosed location. We know there's a lot of creepers out there. So we're not doxing her entirely, but coming to us right now live, Holly Finley.
And her cat.
Oh, hi, kitty. Meow. Meow.
She is absolutely insistent on making an appearance. I've relocated. I've moved the camera like 4 times and it doesn't matter. She just absolutely... she just has to say hi. So
all right,
here she is.
And what is her name?
For audio viewers, Holly's cat is very. You know there's a cat meme that looks just like that. But yes, the cat is full front and center in our camera view.
All cat all the time here on Smashbox.
That's right.
Holly, what's your cat's name?
Well, would you stop it? I just call her Kitty.
Wow.
Because she won't respond to her actual name.
All right.
So
Cats love laptops.
Her real name, good kitty. Her real name is Cabot because she is like an American bobtail, so she has a little puffball for a tail. And from the back, she looks like a rabbit. So Cabot is half cat, half rabbit, but she won't even acknowledge it. So I call her Kitty. And the funny thing about her is that she's actually 14. And nobody believes that because she's so small and she looks young. But I just got her on tour with me like back in July. And at the front half of the season, I just wasn't cashing. I just was not getting the job done. But ever since I've picked up my cat, I have cashed. So I kind of call her Cash Kitty because she's good luck now. And I'm just saying, if you're having trouble cashing on tour, you should probably just get a cat.
That's not the quote of the year. I don't know what it is.
Well, I mean, and the year's almost over, so we've seen a lot of tour animals this year show up. You know, a few cats, but mostly some puppies.
Yeah, lots of new dogs being added to the tour. How does Cabot get along with any other animals, or is there not any exposure or playtime with them?
Yes, I tried to introduce her to Maria Oliva's new kitty cat, and nope, not yet. And I've tried Socks. You know, Lisa Fakis has Socks. Socks is famous. And they've howled at each other for like 20 minutes with very deep howls and growls and hisses, but no attacks. So, I mean, I guess you could say progress was made.
If there's a lack of a cat fight, we consider that a success. We'll take it.
Yeah, like interest was shown. Now, recently, the biggest interest was from Deanne, Carrie, and AJ's new puppy. They got a Labradoodle named Onyx, and Kitty actually jumped out of the van and walked towards him and was really curious about him, but still a lot of howling and hissing. So not actual friends. But you know, she's not the best at making friends. She's new, so she'll get used to it, hopefully.
Okay. And
it's been really fun having an animal on tour.
14 years old. Where did Cabot come about? How did this adoption or theft or whatever take place? How do you get a 14-year-old cat?
Well, I've actually had her for 14
Oh,
years.
okay.
I got her 14 years ago at a Walmart in Tennessee. There was a woman giving away cats in a cardboard box outside the front door. And I walked by and I was with my brother and I was like, "What you got there?" She said, "Kitties." I said, "How much?" "Free." I was like, "Oh, let me look at one." So she handed me this one and then it crawled up in my hair and that was it. Kitty came home with me and here we are, Cash Kitty.
Wow. I don't know how we have a better intro than that, but awesome. Congratulations this weekend. Let's talk about where you are, and kind of what, you made a post and said you were disappointed that you didn't make it into the Pro Tour Championship, but clearly we know how much you love playing and touring and traveling and what that's been like these last few years. So how did you arrive at, where you are? And is that kind of your plan, that general area?
Yes, I think that I will probably stay on the East Coast for the off season and do some training, if you will. I find I like the golf over here the best, plus the weather is tolerable.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll probably do the same as I did last off season, or maybe even explore some more southern states, possibly Georgia or Alabama or Florida even. I'm just not even sure yet. Since I'm living in the van, everything is really up in the air, which is wild because the old me planned everything like 10 years in advance. And the new me is like, well, I don't know where I'm sleeping tonight, but I guess I'll figure it out.
YOLO!
And I used to see people, I know, I used to see tour players on Facebook roll into town and say, "Hey, I just got into town. Does anybody have a place for me to stay?" And I thought those people were crazy. Like, how could you not plan something? You're on tour. And here I am doing the same thing, just flying by the seat of my pants.
So then real quick, before we get more into the specifics of this weekend, my follow-up to that would be, that's the old you, the new you. What would be your words of advice? I mean, obviously everyone has to, get comfortable with who they are and what way they want to go about it. But what would be your words of advice to someone that's thinking about hitting the road and or going on tour?
Make sure that you have a good amount of savings, possibly two separate set of savings, one to pay your bills, and then another one to use for disc golf touring. Also, you should have some backup plan because it's hard out here. It's tough. It'd be great if you could get a salary from a sponsor. But if you're thinking about it, I think you should, if you can get those things in order, you should do it because, there's been girls that are still touring. I'm not going to mention their name, but they were sleeping in a tent, like legitimately playing the pro tour stops, camping, like in people's yards, sleeping in a tent, campsites. And this girl traveled solo. So, like, if a young girl can travel the US alone and camp, I feel like it just should, give courage to so many people that it's very doable and the world is safe. You just have to be cautious and be smart and, like you do every day, but a little bit extra if you're going to camp alone in the woods. But it's very doable. You don't have to be scared. I think you should take the leap if you're thinking about it. That's how I feel about a lot of things in life. It's nothing worse than looking back later and thinking, what if? And I really wish I would have done that. And now I'm too old and my body can't do it anymore. So that would be my words of advice to anyone who's thinking about taking the leap.
And you're maybe arguably one of the better testaments to this, that you came into the game super excited and ready to be a professional, ready to take on the tour, ready to play full time. And then you've been seeing that growth through this last 10 years. Like, you personally have been watching your purses double and triple and quintuple and everything else, right? I mean, with where,
Absolutely.
yeah.
It's mind-blowing, especially the fact that females are getting six-figure salaries to play disc golf just to be on the team. Like, what? That's crazy. I remember when I would like travel multiple states away just so I could have more than one other woman to play with, and five seemed like a lot, and that was amazing. And I was super thankful for that. And it didn't matter if we had bathrooms, because who cares? Because there was five women there, and you just figure it out. And it's like now we have all these expectations and these like minimum standards. And like, we will not be playing a tournament without at least four restrooms, which sounds very, like something that should be the norm. But, when you love something, it's like you just do what you have to do to make it work. And back in the day, I guess it was kind of like roughing it, you just play disc golf and it's a little bit like roughing it. And now we got all these fancy luxuries,
Well,
like everything's so upgraded.
Like a van and a cat.
Yeah, a cat in a van.
Exactly. But especially like the Pro Tour decor. I just love it with all the banners and the feathers and the big archways, and everything just looks so prestigious and professional. And every tournament looks like Worlds. You know what I mean? Every Pro Tour event. It's all fancy. And back in the day, only Worlds was fancy.
Mm-hmm.
You might see like a couple of PDGA feather banners. And of course, USDGC always had a lot of extras. But now every Pro Tour stop, even the Silver Series, like, you should see this one. It looks great. It's just, I just love it. It's amazing how it's grown, and it's so professional and prestigious looking and feeling and paying. And it's just great. It's, and I've talked to some older players that have been playing since the 80s and the 90s. And it's funny. They're like, yeah, all you youngins are saying, oh, disc golf's going to blow up. We were saying that back then when Budweiser sponsored the Worlds, So good luck with that. And it's like, well, hopefully, I mean, eventually we all feel like it's blowing up. And I don't know if now is considered blowing up, but to me it is. People getting $1 million contracts, females getting six-figure salaries, I think for me, this is the definition of we've made it. We've blown up.
Yeah, and I'm guessing we're just going to continue to hopefully that just continues probably to go a little bit deeper. Of course, we love having the men and women that are setting the bar and then resetting the bar. When you look at the Macbeths and the Wysocki's, and then you look at the Tatars and the Pierces, so on and so forth. But now, hopefully, that continues to bring all of these other players along with them. And as you're saying, it's spreading out so much more. I mean, joking aside, yeah, to have someone like yourself, a woman traveling essentially alone out on the road in a nice van that you can be comfortable in, like, that was very much a luxury just 10 years ago. I mean, nobody, you think of Avery Jenkins and Dave Felberg and Todd Branch as the Winnie crew, and they're in a beat up 30-year-old Winnebago, and it was like a college locker room in there. And now we've clearly seen some significant upgrades, which is awesome. We're glowing up, I think the kids say. Glow up.
Yeah, and I just love it when all the pro touring players are in town and all the touring vans are lined up. And it's just great to see like how many people have really thrown their life into this. They've taken out personal loans to buy vans. They're like all in it, like this is serious. And I just think that's incredible.
So let's talk specifically. We totally agree, of course, and it's been awesome. It's been a long journey for all of us, and I think it's only going to continue to get better. This weekend, you mentioned a few minutes ago, Deanne Carey, and their new addition to their family. But you decided to take some dog food out of that bowl because you beat her by one, and you took it down. You got her by a stick, and 8 women in the field this weekend. And then it was really you and Deanne that pulled away from, I see Elaine King finished 9 behind you, and then the rest of the field. So did it feel like a 2-woman race at any point?
Only on the final day. Me and Deanne weren't really pulling away until the final day.
Okay.
There was some local girls that were playing really well and keeping up with us. And we were never more than just a couple of strokes apart. And then on day 3, I think that I was even tied in second place with a local female who is very talented. And so, really on day 3, I had to give myself a pep talk, and I was like, you really got to get things going here, and no more silly mistakes. So I didn't really do much chatting that day, and I tried to find the zone, but it was crazy because I would get a bird, and then Deanne would get the same birdie, and then, I'd park one, and then she'd park it, and we'd both like get up maybe like 40 feet away, and I'd hit the cage and she'd hit the cage, and it was just like back and forth. And I'm not one to look at scores, but I couldn't really ignore that we were getting the same birdies. And I still am not good at keeping up with scores in my head, because I'm normally not in a winning position, so I don't really have a lot of experience trying to like be super tight about the scores.
Sure.
Yes. I just sort of play and then see how it unfolds at the end. So I decided that after my tee shot on 18, I would look at the scores. So I realized then that I had a 1-stroke lead, and all I needed to do was par. So I decided I was just going to throw a disc straight, 300 feet, and try to pitch it up and take a par and move on. But yeah, definitely on the second day, me and Deanne pulled away, and it was a lot of fun because we played the same event last year. So it was kind of like a repeat of last year. But last year, Natalie Ryan won, and she wasn't here this year.
Okay. Yeah, I see. It looks like, you were knotted up with Megan Goldsby, and
exactly.
You went on to shoot a 965 rated round, which I think the quick math shows me that was the highest rated round of the weekend by anyone in FPO. And you, like I said, got past Deanne by a single stick. So you picked the best time and place to have the hot round and jump in front of Deanne by 1. So congrats.
Yeah, I was thinking sometimes I have trouble finishing like hole 17 and 18 cleanly, and being able to finish hole 17 and 18 almost feels better than the win itself.
Yeah. Do you feel that you've done that on multiple courses, or just specific styles of courses, wooded courses, open courses, or is it just your concentration?
It's any course.
It's any course. Is it your concentration just starts to waver, or?
I don't know. This could be pressure, concentration. I mean, I don't know. If I knew, I wouldn't do it. But
valid point.
It's all part of the mystery we're still trying to figure out.
So as we look at, you picking up the victory here, I see that you also, I remember now, I'm thinking back, it feels like May was forever ago, but you also took down the Rumble back in May. Those were your 2 biggest wins or best finishes here on the year. In general, I mean, I'm looking at your year, 29 events. What kind of grade would you give yourself for this year? How do you feel like, you're wrapping up 2022? Like, what are some of the big takeaways for you?
I give myself a A B minus.
Okay.
B because I'd include attendance because I've never dropped out of anything in 10 years. And I really commit to the whole season. I make a plan and I really try to follow all the way through with it, especially now that we have the tour finale. And I thought if I don't do it with quality, I could do it with quantity, which is what I did last year.
Mm-hmm.
I got the final seed because I played more events than some of the other people, not because I played the events better than some of the other people. And I thought, well, at least as a fallback, obviously I want to play well and, win. But as a fallback, I thought maybe if I just play every single tour stop, at least I could squeak into the last like 5 positions. But it's not like it used to be. Just the other day, a memory popped up on my Facebook. I think it was 2019. And I was like seed 9 or something. I was like, wow, like this is crazy. And now I was like 29 or 30. I was so far, I was still 100 points from even getting to be in the play-in position. So that's really just crazy to me, because I don't feel like I'm playing worse, but I'm also not really scoring much better. So I think, yeah, I'd go with a B minus.
Okay. Now,
maybe a C plus. It's hard to say, really.
Well, before we look at that more, I look at, holy cow, you're still registered for 5 more sanctioned events, including Lake Marshall this upcoming weekend. Like, I don't want to say are those all going to happen for you, but I mean, you see yourself playing all of those yet throughout the next like 6 or 7 weekends, 5 more events.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. I will be playing all of those A tiers, and I'm super excited about them all. So yeah, I'll be playing all the way until Thanksgiving, I believe.
Yeah, well, right now you have the Lake Marshall, and then the week after, the Gatekeeper presents Myrtle Beach, then the New World, which will be a Silver Series on the Pro Tour, as is Lake Marshall, I believe, and then the Lake County Trailblazer the weekend before Thanksgiving, and then you have December 3rd, the Carolina Clash, also listed on there. So you got plenty of golf. I feel like we're having you on too early. I mean, I know you just won and all, but we shouldn't be maybe recapping the year just yet. I mean, that like C plus, B minus could get to B plus with a strong finish.
You're right. I mean, you never know. There's just a lot still left in my season, actually.
And then with that, like you said, you're going to be down on that probably that general side of the country. Obviously, you're not playing winter golf up here in Wisconsin. I could see how that's far less appealing now than ever.
Come on.
For you. So I totally understand. We miss you here in Wisconsin, but it does make sense. And then what do you know? Like late February, the tour's up and running again. That's not that long, is it?
I know. I was just looking at what is happening at the LVC this year, and I started wondering if they were going to do that disc golf con thing again, or like was somebody going to revive that? And like was anything else new going to pop up? And then I got deep into the dredges of Reddit, and yeah.
How much good did that do you?
It's very informative.
It can show you where some smart people are and not so smart people. That's what I can take from that.
I want to talk a little bit about next year.
Okay.
This is, well, I guess we'll recap this year, and I hate to be the one to bring it up, but this is the first year you've been able to play Masters, and you played I didn't tell anybody. I didn't know they were letting 30-year-olds in.
Hey-o.
I mean, that's just, you know.
Let's not get into the whole people aren't so smart thing, because we heard of, all this backlash you got because people took you literal and said that, when you said, oh, they shouldn't have let me play or whatever, however you worded it.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, some not so bright people. Yeah.
We're, you know,
I got an example.
Yeah,
you
that's
got,
it.
yeah, exactly. You got an
Yeah,
exemption.
You did. We'll give you that.
So next year, obviously, your plan is to hit most of the Disc Golf Pro Tour events. And
Right.
what does it look like for Masters next year? I mean, you are one of the youngest Masters players now. You have to be looking at that field sometimes. Sarah Holcomb has done it. Most of our women are kind of dipping their toes that can qualify into that field. Is it just a Worlds? Is it just a major thing for you? Or are you going to be looking at maybe other events as well?
I think she froze.
I'm going to dive on a stage.
I didn't know we were going to talk about this.
I didn't know. I
We
didn't
don't
know either. Honestly, I didn't.
Come on, where
I
you
didn't,
been? We make shit up as we go. What are you talking about?
All right.
Honestly, I didn't think about it until I was looking through your year, and it was like a huge chunk of FPO, and then there's one little Masters event, and I thought, that's right, she can play Masters now. It never occurred to me, honestly.
I mean, I'll still have to request extra exemptions. So I
For a
mean,
few
I
more
guess
years,
it'll
I
be
understand.
based on
We've
that,
got some strings that the PDGA will help pull for you.
Yeah, there
you
you
know. I mean, it's all dependent on if I can get those individual exemptions or not.
All right, so we might see you dip your toe in there from time to time where it makes sense. That's going to be my guess. That's my unofficial take. If I'm going to put words in your mouth, that's my guess.
I haven't shopped that schedule much. You know, I actually have only looked at the Pro Tour schedule, which is jam packed. I mean, you mentioned
Mhm.
that. I actually kind of forgot that was a whole thing that, you know, I could look at. So I don't even know how I could fit more into what already has.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I think you just need to follow Owen Scoggins around. She seems to have it down. So she's hitting all the big events and then winning, Masters Worlds for her division. So just follow Owen around, and I think you'll be golden.
Own is something else, y'all.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dude,
you won't be able to keep up with her, but because we can't keep up with her, I don't think anyone can keep up with her.
I mean, she's just remarkable, man. She is just insanely talented.
Well,
It's really a jewel to have in our division.
I couldn't agree more. And so just for, because I also looked at a schedule finally just last night, the Tim Selinsky U.S. Masters will be taking place May 25th through the 28th. That's out on the West Coast. I know there's, that's the Portland, Beaver State-ish swing, so everybody's already out there. So I'm just throwing that out there. That's going to take place in Eugene, Oregon. So you're literally just a few hours from where everything else is going down. And then Masters Worlds is listed as July 11th through the 15th, and I believe that's in Flagstaff, one of my favorite places to ever play disc golf, especially 2003 Worlds. Yeah, it's just beautiful up there. So Flagstaff will be absolutely gorgeous, and I'm sure they'll do a good job there. So those are the two that jump out at me. And then obviously, when it comes to the U.S. Women's, that's going to be in September in Burlington, North Carolina, which I'm sure you know. And at that point...
Oh, I can't wait for that.
What's that?
I can't wait for that.
So... yeah, so there'll be plenty of options out there, and they do somewhat, as I see, pretty much coincide with, the FPO tour life as well. So you got options.
Interesting. Okay.
Is this, because this is the main conversation and will be one of the last things we ask you about then, but is this like a contract year for you? Are you in constant yearly negotiations with Innova, or where are you right now?
I have not heard from Innova about next year.
Okay.
I am on year 11 with Innova, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is year 10, so next year would be year 11.
Okay.
That's about all the information I have.
Oh, fair enough. I mean, Innova, for the most part,
for many of their players, they tend to be a year-over-year contract.
Yeah.
They are it appears that they are starting to sign longer-term contracts with some of the players. As we saw, Kelvin just recently signed, and in the past we saw Ricky, and I'm sure there's a few other players out there. But in general, they've always been a pretty casual year-over-year contract, handshakes, kind of verbal agreements. So I'm assuming that's kind of your status currently, and maybe in the next couple of weeks you'll probably hear from who is the team captain or the person I know. Because it used to be Jonathan Poole, but I don't know who it is now, honestly.
He still serves that
Is
same
he?
role.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holly, is there anything else? We're gonna keep you short per your request. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or anything else that we need to touch on before we let you go?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
The Charlotte Disc Golf Club has asked me to do a clinic in December, and I believe it is the weekend of December the 10th. Okay. So it would be the weekend after the Carolina Clash. And it's going to be at Rinsky, and I'm going to focus on putting. Also help you get some more speed and distance on your longer putts. A lot of people's putting kind of falls flat after 40 feet, or it looks wobbly. So if you're in the Charlotte area, you can sign up for that. I mean, shoot, if you're in the Southeast area, sign up for it. You know, I'd love to have you come out. I think right now registration is open to women and children. So, you know, I'd love to see you out there and help you improve your game.
Heck yeah, I love it. So plenty of busyness ahead for you. Like we said, 5 sanctioned events over the next few weeks. And then the first weekend you're not playing golf, you're going to host a tournament. That sounds like disc golf life and then some for one Holly Finley. Love it. All right, Holly, you want to thank any sponsors, year-long, upcoming, previous, hopeful, whatever, you name it. Thank any sponsors and shout-outs, and how can people support you?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, I love Innova. I've got the Tour Series Glow Champion Mako 3 with the alien stamp on it. People seem to really like that. You can get those on all the Innova websites or your favorite disc golf retailer, you know, whatever that might be. Also, I have my other favorite sponsor, Pharma CBD. They were like a main sponsor at USDGC. If you were there, you could not miss them. It was everywhere. You can go to their website and use code Holly for 20% off, and I get a royalty from that, which helps me eat hamburgers from Five Guys on tour. So really appreciative of that. And you guys, thanks for having me on. It's always fun.
Always.
All right, final 2 questions. One came off the board.
Wait.
One's my own. Sorry.
Okay.
First of all, we'll go with very topical here. Cajun fries, I assume, at Five Guys, or do you go plain?
I actually don't get any fries. I'm not into the fries. I get 2 little bacon cheeseburgers, one for now, one for later, and that means later is immediately after the first one.
Perfect. Okay.
The fries aren't great anyway. They're
Shut
okay.
up. You're so wrong. And then second question that did come off the board, we'll ask it. Any Halloween costume dress up plans and or what's the costume going to be if there is one?
I do not have any Halloween costume dress up plans. I was thinking about if a tournament of mine falls on Halloween, I might come up with something fun to wear that weekend of the tournament. I used to play the Hub City Halloween Open, but now I don't know what I'm doing that weekend.
Well, this weekend is essentially Halloween when you're going to be...
It is?
Yeah, at the Lake Marshall. Technically, Monday's
Monday
Halloween,
will be Halloween.
and the 30th is Sunday. So get on it.
Okay, well,
Kitty?
I guess I better go to Walmart and figure something out.
Just don't get another new cat. All right, everyone.
Not yet.
Not yet. Holly, congratulations on your victory this weekend. We do, of course, wish you the best of luck throughout the rest of the remainder here of the 2022 season, and looking forward to seeing you back out there on tour in 2023 as well. So thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks,
Thank
Holly.
you.
See ya. Have a good night.
Have a nice night. Holly Finley and her cat.
Of all places, in all ways to acquire,
just a
and
random,
adopt a cat, that would be like way down on my guesses.
a random person giving away cats at Walmart.
Now,
I mean,
when cats are born, obviously from a litter, there's a ton of people that are always like, oh, we don't need this many cats. We don't want any cats. They're here. I find that out a lot of like country barn scenarios. Of course, it happens in the city. It happens everywhere. But like country and barn is like how I usually put all that together. But to then go to the Walmart and have a box full of cats.
Somebody wants to love a cat. And you know what? You go to you go someplace where there's a lot of people. Maybe one of those people will love that cat.
And then you go right into Walmart. You get your cat food. You get your litter box.
That's right.
It's a one-stop cat shop.
Yeah,
everything you need.
When we got a fish a couple of years ago, we just went into, Myers, and just it was like, hey, there's a fish and a fish tank and a little fish setup. And
yeah, imagine that. They sell all that stuff.
They sell all of that stuff, and then the fish died like 2 days later. So it jumped out of the fish tank. We weren't watching.
Committed suicide. It's like I've had enough of you a-holes.
It kind of did. I filled
and no oxygen's better than what we've got here.
God, I think this was like 5 years ago. I didn't think of it. I filled the tank up kind of towards the top. It was just a random goldfish that we purchased, and I put the lid on it, but I left the lid open, and it just literally jumped out of the tank onto the floor when we were at work. And I came home and I was like, "Oh, dead fish on the floor."
That's so random, though. Cats. Fish
Yes.
don't normally do that, do they?
Apparently they do. I didn't know that, but fish do. He jumped out of the tank.
He now.
He, she, whatever. I just assume it's a he because it was a stupid thing to do. So,
okay.
I mean, and so what we did is we went and bought another one, put it in there, and didn't tell the kids that the other fish found its way to Fishy Flush. So.
All right. Well, again, thank you to Cabot, along with Holly, for joining us. Yes, Meta Drew says yeeted himself right out of the bowl. All right. Also going on, let's quickly talk about what we did see this last weekend. Of course, we were just talking about Holly and her performance at the Gatekeeper Media presents the Down East Players Cup. Schwebby couldn't pick up another victory because he was bested by one Barry Schultz in Pro Masters. Ricky Snap ended up finishing in third. I'm going to scroll back up. As we mentioned during the show, Holly Finley took down first place by a stick over Deanne Carey, and then had a little distance between Deanne and Elaine King, who finished in third. Congrats to all those podium finishers. And then up top 5 or so spots, Michael Johansson picked up a victory by a single stroke as well, doing some work out there, $2,500 for his efforts, and had not quite the best round, but enough to just barely get past Dan Hastings, who finished in second. Dan was then one stroke ahead of Gavin Rathbun and Paul Oman, Tall Paul. Excuse me. So $1,325 for their efforts.
Looks like it was a rough final round for Dan, as he probably had the lead going into there, and then shot a 56 when the other guys were shooting 52s and 53s.
Yeah. So Paul Oman, I mentioned, and then Evan Smith, Matt Thompson, rounding out your top 5 spots. So congratulations to all of them. I'd be the first to admit I don't watch a lot of post-production. I'm going to assume if it's not already out there, it will be thanks to Gatekeeper.
Spoilers, bro.
Yeah, spoiler alert. And then what else did we see out there? Another big A-tier
going down over in Oklahoma and Tulsa. Tournament director is Kyle Gibson. This is the Oklahoma Open presented by Innova. Taking this one down in first place for MPO was Jonathan Nicholson. He shot a 22 under par. His round ratings were like 1021, 1009, and then he finished up with 1046. So congratulations to Jonathan. Then you go to second place, which is Neil Bishop. Third place, John Willis II. Fourth place, Caleb Bruce. And tie for fifth was Brandon Cawthorn and Nolan Ramsey. So congratulations to your top 5 finishers in MPO. Over in FPO, this is what the talk. This is the talk of the town.
It should be.
Kat Murch wins this, not just handedly. She won by 8 strokes. She shot a 6 down over Maria Oliva, who shot a 2 over. Third place, Allie Smith, 12 over. Then Katie, is that Belty, I believe? Katie Belty in fourth place. And fifth place was Kim G. But the talk.
Tying with Nova. Kim and Nova knotted up.
Look at that. How cute. But the talk is Kat Murch's final round. She shot a 52, which in and of itself doesn't say much. But the round rating, 1,038. I believe I heard that is the highest FPO round of the season.
It might be, and if it is, I don't want to say it surprises me, but it kind of surprises me. I feel like, without doing the math,
I'd have to look at Statmando.
I know. I was gonna say this is why you need Statmando, like stat and all the time at our absolute fingertips, anytime, all the time. But I think of a Kristen, maybe at a Jonesboro, and maybe that didn't get to 1038. Nonetheless, I'm not trying to take anything away, of course, from Cat Merch, but some that jump off the top of my head, I think of that one, for instance. But nonetheless, if it wasn't the hottest round, it was one of the hottest rounds of the entire year.
I'm sure someone. No, I was trying to look at Statmando to see if there's a quick. I'm sure there is a quick way to do it.
I'm sure smarter people prevail.
But yes, there's not.
There's somebody smarter than you, Johnny.
There's a lot of people smarter than me.
Would you say most?
I wouldn't say most, but I would say a lot. And yeah, I'm trying to look and see if there's a high. Anyway, I'm sure somebody online will tell us if it was the highest. Yes, Billy Ashton is saying it is the highest rated round. Okay, good. Okay. So that is what I thought I'd heard, and I figure if I heard it on the internet, it must be true. I might as well repeat it.
Yes, that's what we do.
Since all I do is just repeat what I hear on the internet.
Repeat stuff.
So anyway, Cat Merch shooting 1,038, a 52. Obviously that, she bested her next closest competitor by 7, which really put her above and beyond Maria that day. So congratulations to Cat. What a phenomenal round. Hopefully I don't know if there's any post-production coverage of the FPO in this event. If there is, please, by all means, go out and check it out. Go check out Cat's round, and we can everyone can go enjoy it. It's well-deserved, 1,038 rated round. I shot this weekend, and it was nowhere near that. So it was.
Why does that surprise me?
It doesn't at all. I would be shocked if I broke 900 with the way I was shooting this weekend. It was not a sanctioned event. We just went out and played for fun. But anyway, the other event that we had this weekend, the other A tier, is the Smokin' Aces Championship St. Charles Open. That is over in Wentzville, Missouri. So congratulations to Max Anderson taking home the MPO trophy over Zachariah Johnson. Max Anderson is a 985 rated pro, besting Zachariah, who is 1,010. Then you've got Jack Schulte, I believe that's pronounced. He's 962, and tied with him in third place was Brock Roller, who's 1,000 rated. So congratulations to those top 4 players. Go down to FPO, and Chantel Badinsky wins this one by, looks like 9 strokes over Emma Arp. So congratulations to those 2 as well. And those are your A tiers. I am not going to talk about anything other than A tiers, Terry.
All right. Works for me. So one of the things that I don't know exactly what time in which this came in, but there was a post that was made by, and this goes to coverage and everything else. There was a post made by Andrew Presnell, who had essentially kept track of people that were featured cards, featured card members and whatnot. I'll be the first to admit I did not take a deep dive into it, but he did put together some analysis and some data of feature cards that were assembled or curated or collected or put together throughout the year. You can, I don't know what you want to take from it or not. It was, I'm sorry, I'm pulling up a graphic to look. Maybe no surprise that in terms of total, showings, Macbeth, if you're looking at a percentage of times that they were there, McMahon jumps out as your top person per percentage wise. He didn't play in a lot of events, and when he did, he was then featured.
Yeah, it's 100%. Every time he played. So
is that good?
Yes, that is. Now I want to look that. Open that back up. I was looking at that. It says total 2022 major, elite, and silver series featured cards per player. So these are only the assembled featured cards. These are not
correct.
This is
If
not
you fell
like
into
round.
a chase card, coverage. Yeah, I don't believe this was just exclusively feature card. That he had assembled all of this, and I believe he even put it on Twitter's maybe, and then some other people kind of took his data and then tried to run with it to make more of it. We could continue to have this discussion till the end of time. We've talked about it throughout the years from a media perspective, from a fairness, from a competitive standpoint. The fact that there are protocols that are involved with this now. The Disc Golf Pro Tour has a protocol. The PDGA has standards and protocols. I'm not necessarily saying for or against in any capacity, but there as serious as this has gotten in the last few years and the implications that do go along with it, then yes, it is interesting data if you want to look at it from that perspective. And again, till we're blue in the face, we can get just as many people that say, I want to see Macbeth, Wysocki, McMahon, and Lizotte. That's all I want to see in a first-round feature card. And to the total opposite, which is I'd like to see 4 guys we'll never probably ever see again. These 4 guys that are all regional guys or 4 guys that are all rated 10-10. And everything in between. I am not dismissing one or the other argument.
That's your dismissive voice.
It kind of is. But but that is a common thing that gets said. And it's always not always. It often is. It's a matter of, I think, finding that fine line. Would be really cool if they had one local guy or woman, one local that's in there, like the highest rated local, the most favorite, the friendliest, the person that won the event or cashed the year before. I don't know how you draw that person up, all the way up to, well, it'd be cool if it was like 3 or 4 of them. I want to see locals play it.
I will say this. We have seen many times in the past we'll say this, like the previous year's winner or the AM winner stop in and get, I won't say previous years, but yeah, the AM winner jump up onto a feature card. It usually doesn't end well for them. That's a lot of pressure to put on somebody that, I don't want to say hasn't earned their spot on a feature card, because they clearly did, but that is not used to that type of spotlight. 9 times out of 10, you watch that player just get crushed. And that's not fun to watch, because again, I know we focus a lot on the media perspective, because from a media perspective, we want the lead card to be engaging. We don't want to have to be fighting around players on the first day that are like, oh, all right, well, let's cut his shots out so we can show other people's shots, because there is an obligation when you're on a feature card. Usually the feature cards are created. There's a couple different ways, but we'll just say for the gatekeeper card. Usually the gatekeeper gets to pick a player. The primary sponsor of the event gets to pick a player. DGPT will sometimes pick a player, or the event gets to pick a player. There's a few different ways that
protocols.
There's protocols to assemble a lead card. And if the event wants to pick the AM winner to show up and play, by all means, that's fine. I think for the most part they've stopped putting them on that featured card, the primary live card. They usually will put them on a post-production card, just because we all know what everybody wants to see. If it was up to a majority of the players, every card would be Paul, Ricky, Eagle, Simon. That is what most players,
or some similar variation of that.
No, it would be those 4.
Chris Dickerson, Vinny.
Nope.
Yeah.
Those are great players, but I almost guarantee if you poll the top 4 players that people want to see on coverage, it's going to be those 4. Like, those are almost the 4 most popular players. Everyone loves to see Vinny when he's on the feature card, but in general, they're also some of the most entertaining. I don't necessarily consider Vinny entertaining on a feature card. He doesn't emote. He doesn't. He is surgical in his throws, but he's not exactly fun to watch usually. It's like, cool. He throws a great shot again. He throws a great putt again. He doesn't get excited rarely. A lot of people want to see that emotion that Simon gives you, that Eagle gives you, that Paul gives you, that Ricky. They have a charisma on live coverage that Vinny either purposefully doesn't give, and that's his brand, or maybe he just doesn't exist inside of him. I don't know. I love Vinny.
I just think you don't know how to read him yet. I can tell every bit of his emotion.
I love the guy. He spent the night here in the basement at my house, whether he liked it or not.
You loved him a lot. It sounds like too much.
It's but in general, those are usually, so we know what everybody wants to see, and it's take it or leave it. So
yeah, but my cousin, it's rated like 970, and like he's really coming up.
He wins league like every other week.
You should be focusing on like the next generation of players, and he's like 970. I mean, he was 960 last rating, so he's definitely coming up, and I think we should be watching him. I'm sick of watching all those other guys.
I get it. Sometimes I love it when we get a one new face on there, because we get to watch them for 2 or 3 holes before we start ignoring them.
Well, either way, it was some good information that was put out there. Again, Andrew Presnell, he's out on Twitter, and then it kind of went from there as well.
I would love to see that info kind of cross-referenced with a general round rating. So, like, hey, is it true that everyone says, like, oh, these guys
I always play better when I play with better people?
Some people do. But no, I'm curious about whether, having that advantage of playing in the afternoon, or playing with that feature card. Some people play better with cameras. Some people probably don't play better with cameras. I would love to see if there is a truly statistical anomaly, like, oh, look, and we'll just say, because Andrew Presnell, when he gets on the featured card on the first day, he tends to shoot X points under his rating, or X points above his rating on average. Because I think there could be some statistical information to be gleaned from that. I don't necessarily know if it would change anything. Or hey, look at Macbeth. Macbeth tends to shine when the spotlight is brightest. Does it help him? Because he's on it the most. Hey, look, Macbeth tends to shoot when he's on camera 20 points over his average or his rating, and when he's off camera, he shoots 20 points above his rating despite us. So, but anyway, those are the type of information I would like. I don't think it matters. I don't think it changes anything, but in general.
Well, I think about how from there, like you said, there's so many other specific details that can factor in. How often a late afternoon round is going to actually have worse weather than a 10 a.m. round, and who's on what card, and then the cameras and the crowds and the galleries. Like I feel like for every positive you can take from those experiences, we can find an equal negative that you could also draw from being there as well. And
I agree.
Yeah. And we know there's sponsor implications. There's sometimes bonuses. There's a lot of things that go along with it. And this kind of, and I promise you, I'm not going to dig into it, but this also somewhat has been at least a passenger on the bus of the conversation about, should lower PDGA numbers be splitting ties, because, and I know it's not a feature card, but for additional cards after that, well, hey man, that's not fair. Paul Macbeth's number is, 27,000. He's gonna beat out a tie versus a ton of the other open players. Or Johnny McRae's always gonna win out a tie by having a lower PDGA number in the 9,000s. Or Simon, who's 8,332.
You shouldn't have missed that one putt, then, dude.
Anyway, I'm just saying, like, that continues. That helps, be in that conversation about. The cards, the implications, what it may or may not have to do with all of that. So anyway, interesting stuff by Andrew. And I think that is one specific thing of note, is like, how often do the players then shoot their rating, or how much worse? And I looked specifically, I know we just said Eagle was 100%. Simon's not far off of that usually. And Simon has bluntly said, he's like, I haven't played for a month, or I haven't played this event, or I don't typically play well here, or I haven't been around, especially when he's coming back. And he's like, and then I'm put on a feature card. I'm on Jomez. I'm on DGN. And I guess technically he could say no.
Sure. You can.
He can decline.
You can decline.
But there's then there's almost this weird pressure of like, yeah, people, but everybody wants to see you. And it's just funny. Simon is in a position like an Eagle, like maybe a Paul and a Ricky, who just, they're almost expected to not only be on the card, but then to perform once they're there. Because
we know it kind of doesn't matter. You throw Simon on any course, under almost any conditions, and that guy can come out and shoot a 1080 round, or he'll come out and shoot a 1010 round. Like, that's Simon. That is the epitome of Simon Lizotte. High highs, low lows. For him, low lows.
Yeah, I mean, he's not shooting your scores.
No, he's not shooting our scores. That's for sure. But in general, that's Simon. And that's what I think, honestly, that's what people like to see. People like to see Simon because if he's shooting well, he's super happy. If he's shooting poorly, he kind of then decides to do the Simon thing. And it's like, oh, here comes the Simon line. And he's done a little less of that this year. But that another reason. And Simon has built up his brand. But yes, any player can decline being on a featured card if they so choose. That is the right of a player. If they do not want to be on a featured card for round 1, they can do that. Clearly, you can't do that for rounds 2 and 3 or 4 or 5. You go where you go when we film it, but that's just life.
And just a few quick notes off the board as I'm seeing getting caught up. Does lower PDGA number make it easier for them to get sponsors? No, not directly. I mean, ultimately, your play, your skills, your charisma, all of those things. But what your PDGA number is doesn't necessarily... Your PDGA number can be an indicator of your length in the game. It often does correlate.
Wait, are our numbers going to get us sponsored, Terry? I mean, you're 10738. I'm 14324. I'm knocking on the door of every manufacturer to start screaming for sponsorship.
Hey, man, I'm just a few hundred off of 4 digits, man. No. So does that directly... No, it does not. It absolutely does not. Again, as Spock and then replied, and yes, you've probably been playing longer, and or there might be something that goes along with that, but the actual number itself should be irrelevant. I'll tell you right now, if there's somebody that has 232,300 and they're rated 1030, they're getting a sponsor, and their PDGA number absolutely doesn't matter.
I know we've talked about this before as far as PDGA number and fairness. I can kind of understand the argument because Simon's PDGA number for the Europeans, a lot of them got the 8,000 numbers, whether they've signed up 10 years ago or 20 years ago. You still kind of got the same 8,000 range number because the field was so small back then that there are probably maybe 4 players that fit into that category these days that probably that still get that advantage, and Simon is one of them.
Yeah.
But at this point, it's almost a moot point because look at what your Nicholas Antala, look at what his I have no clue what his PDGA number is offhand, but I don't think it's in the 8,000s anymore because they don't really do that anymore.
They don't.
So really there's probably unless Marcus Kallstrom is going to come over and get on a feature card or Christian Sandstrom, I think we're doing okay. It's just going to be Simon.
Yeah, and I think both of those guys are outside of it with that 1,000. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Were they?
I believe they were. And think about it too. I think about Simon's being 8,332. Which means I was going to say he was alive. Of course he was. But his dad may have signed him up, and his number may have been very low in the first place if he would have signed him up as a child.
Sure, he probably would have been like 17,000 or something weird like that.
Yeah, so it's yeah. I mean, I think about my daughter just turned 14 a few days ago, and I had signed her up. Technically, I had reserved the number, so to speak, just as she was about to be born, and she's 40738, which is again probably younger than or probably lower than most of you on the board.
And my son is 44324, and I'm 14324 because you could do that back in the day.
Those were the days, folks. So those were the days.
This is a little bit after show stuff, but your daughter just had her 14th birthday. My son is 13. He went for his doctor's appointment, and everything's great. They measured him. He's 13, 6'2.25". He is officially now a freaking giant. And I'm so upset that he doesn't love disc golf. Like, he doesn't mind to play, but I keep thinking, like, kid, you're like, you could be the next Gannon Burr. Like, you could throw a mile, and he's just, whatever. He's a 13-year-old, so.
Yeah, not quite the same.
Maybe he'll change his mind, but ultimately it's like he's built for this sport.
Yeah.
And we'll see someday.
All right. A couple other things in the news that we can touch on. Did we see an award? Actually, let's touch on more event stuff real quick.
Talk about the big skins thing real quick.
So again, we're not going to talk about who actually won the majority and or significant skins money. We're doing that because GK Pro is putting that out in the next day or two. I'm gonna guess Thursday. I'll see if I actually have any specific updates. I was having an exchange with them earlier tonight, so if I had something specific, I'd share it with you, but I don't. So the last they had said, so I can share this with you, is post-production. We're excited to get it out as soon as possible. The skins matches take way longer to edit over normal tournament post-produce coverage, understandably, because you have all these people walking and talking and doing all these other things with cameras everywhere, as opposed to just being focused on the one person that's for sure throwing next. Hopefully our fans understand we just need a little bit more time than we would normally with FPO post-production.
All that makes sense.
Yeah, all that makes sense. So, yeah, I mean, to get into the nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah, we can quickly recap. And I know you had a nightly podcast that night when we found out. Last week, obviously, we had the guys from GK Pro on. We talked a little bit about the broadcast. And then, obviously, come Saturday, I'm sure everybody knows, all hell broke loose. It was unfortunate, just failure on many aspects of the broadcast. And a lot of that can be traced back to the company that had maybe, we'll say, overestimated their abilities, the Mason Productions. They had kind of overpromised and clearly under-delivered. In that there were some people that were not prepped like they should have been. I think that more than likely they were not fully aware of the scope of what they needed to do, and they didn't perform like they said they were going to. They promised things and didn't deliver, period. And there's not a lot that we can do, or that GK could do, or that Eagles Crossing could do when you think you vet somebody and they say all the right things, but then they show up and drop the ball in epic proportions in multiple ways. I think you had said at one point, they were supposed to come with, like a disc golf network broadcaster, a director, someone who switches the shots, a producer, someone who maybe talks about what's going on, a replay op, a graphic op, an audio person.
Multiple people out on the course in terms of parabolic mics,
yep,
along with camera operators and everything else.
And nobody showed up. Like, they just flat out did not show up. So now you have a couple camera guys and one or two people in the station. What do? Your GK Pro, I think there is honestly a little bit of, we'll say, fault to spread around amongst all the parties.
For sure.
Eagles Crossing, they probably should have vetted a little bit better. GK Pro, they've been around live long enough where maybe they could have sniffed something out. I don't know what their involvement was in the entire production, if they left it more to Eagles Crossing, if whatnot. Because, obviously those guys are on the road all the time. Up until literally the week before, they had covered almost every single weekend. So I think they just, maybe their fault was that they relied too much on another person and then put their name all over something. It's the GK skins, big money skins. And when you put your name on it, ultimately there's a little bit of fault that you have to take when something fails. And we all know, the GK Pro skins, the GK Pro guys, they did the right thing. When they saw that this went under, they pretty much immediately said, we're going to issue refunds because this isn't what we promised. So I give so many props to those guys because that's a huge amount of money. A couple thousand people probably signed up at $15, and they are refunding all of that. So shout out to them, honestly.
Yeah, and I saw there was a lot of immediate criticism and or second guessing or questioning as well of people talking about, how is this going to impact the payouts and blah, blah, blah. All the payouts were independent, and I feel like that is more than a statement worth making. All of the payouts for all of the event was independent of how well or not the pay-per-view model had gone. So I think that is also of note for sure, because there was immediately a lot of criticism thrown out about that. I'm just going to read in case you haven't seen it already. I'll read right off their page. This is something they posted yesterday. They said live Big Money Skins Championship live stream refund status. It says refunds for live-discgolf.net will begin processing today. This was Monday. We are working with YouTube to process membership refunds next. GK Pro is committed to getting refunds to all who purchase the pay-per-view. Thank you for all your patience and continued support as we try to push the boundaries on sharing disc golf with the world. So, as you said, offering up the refunds is really, truly the best thing that they could do. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, I don't know what else you can,
they did the
harp on or expect at that point.
They did the right thing. And that's all you can ask when, you see that you stepped in it. All you can do is hopefully, clean it up. So,
yeah, and just to answer any questions, and I know I talked about this a little bit on my own feed on Saturday night as this was going down, and somebody even posted it in our wall here tonight as we were getting started. We don't take any satisfaction or excitement out of the idea that this had the struggles that it did. There's so many ways that not only is this different, but also, as Johnny mentioned last week, there is excitement to see new ideas get introduced, new ideas get pushed, or boundaries being pushed, new concepts. I mean, it's not, I don't feel like it's a secret that when we saw how well that Fulcrum back in the day had integrated a drone into the coverage at the USDGC, that honestly changed my mind, changed my opinion to how a drone could be integrated. And then a drone, for instance, has very much become an integral part of the Disc Golf Network and of our broadcast, as of, here moving forward. So those are the types of things that I think can be learned and gained, and not just, borrowed or stolen either. But when you see just somebody else doing something, especially if you've been doing it for a long time, to see someone else's fresh take or perspective on it. Now, as somebody just put on the board minutes ago, maybe a life lesson here, as I like to talk to my kids about life lessons, is just generically always pulling back a little bit and being careful about any time you're about to offer something, maybe for the first time, that you're proclaiming it as going to be the best, most extensive, and or the best ever. And that's maybe what rubbed us wrong years ago when we've seen other live broadcasts that came along and said, we're going to do this better than it, because we were the only ones doing it, Smashbox at the time, and we're going to come out, we're going to do it way better. And they epically failed the very first 9 holes this other company had done years ago. And so I think there's a lesson literally for everyone involved on whatever side you are, of just
modesty. Yeah,
of just hedging your bets a little bit of modesty. And of course you have high expectations. Everybody wants to raise the bar, but maybe curtail or hold back some of those claims and let the proof be in the pudding.
Terry, you know what I have to say to that? Whammo. Here, and on a positive side, now that GK Pro and Eagles Crossing, and I don't know who does, there's some questions on the board, how much do people lose in this and that? I don't know who pays for what. I don't know if this is coming out at some of it's coming out of GK.
So I'll share some of those.
Okay.
Real quick. The information that was given directly from GK Pro is there was nearly a 6-figure check that was written to this Mason agency that massively underperformed and or figuratively and somewhat literally didn't show up. So a near 6-figure check written to them. GK Pro, of course, as we just said, refunding any and all monies.
No, my question, and maybe you're getting to this part, is like, I understand. I knew the amount. We kind of talked a little bit, but whose pocket is it coming out of? Is GK Pro losing money on this by refunding? Is Eagles Crossing losing money on this? Like, do we? Is it public information on as far as who pays what amount?
So, from what I've gathered, is that Eagles Crossing is taking the brunt of all challenges here. I don't think any secret that that Philip at Eagles Crossing has
deep pockets,
copious amounts of money, has dollar bills, and not to say anyone wants to be hissing away money or throwing away money. But he is, had written the original check. I guess that had gone to Mason, obviously pouring in more than 6 figures into the overall skins match to also ensure the payouts and everything else, along with all the insane infrastructure. They had talked about multi-millions of dollars have been poured into the course existing in the first place. And by and large, it sounds as now, of course, GK Pro is suffering some monetary setback to it, and also maybe even more so the damage of their reputation and being associated with what turned out to be a flop. But I think they're on their way of that full blown recovery.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to not like we saw in the past with things like the American Disc Golf Tour and Salient and other things. I don't think this is going to stick on GK Pro nearly as much as what some of the things we've seen in the past.
For sure. And I think that's also, as we all know, with any reputation, right? They have this long, steady, steadfast reputation of being great guys, doing as much as they possibly can. And we'd like to, we're going to assume that all of that goodwill will continue to carry forward for them, as it should. I mean, they tried something big. They were part of it that failed. And I don't think they're abstaining all, as you mentioned. They're not also, kicking the can down the road and saying, well, we had nothing to do with this. This is absolutely, but it does sound like a large majority of the things were, ultimately out of their hands. So,
and you and I have both said publicly, and maybe, I don't know if you've actually said it to GK Pro, but I don't need my $15 back.
Yeah, I don't really care.
Yeah, I don't really care one way or the other. If
Although I did get ripped on. We're about to get ripped on because now I was warned.
Disposable income, blah blah blah, whatever. Yes, okay. Again, the house next door to me went up for sale 2 days ago, and it's going for $550,000.
Oh, damn!
So I'm not. Yeah, I'm not the $15. Keep it GK Pro. If it's going in your pocket, please, by all means. But what I'm saying is that I got $15 worth of entertainment on the day, because
you could argue that for sure.
If you were not part of the live broadcast, you missed out on some of the most phenomenal humor and awkwardness that I maybe have ever seen while watching disc golf.
And that says a lot, because I've been around you for a long time.
And I've been part of some spectacular failures. Things that we didn't. Our very first broadcast had to be cut short because we literally ran out of battery.
Yeah.
We didn't have enough battery to get through 18 holes in 2014.
2014.
Talk about oh, well, I guess we're ending the show because we got no batteries.
Hey, guy, I think I remember saying we're going to stand down essentially, and we're going to go charge batteries so we can bring you the final few holes.
Yeah.
So we had to take a break in the middle of the round.
These are things that you do while you're learning. We have been USDGC last year. Literally, we had an internet failure at the studio that took down the broadcast on hole 17. People didn't see some of the putts, and for some people, it didn't come back up right away. I've been a part of some spectacular failures. This was a failure that was, and granted, I'm on this side of the camera for that, on this side of the switchboard. I was able to watch and be participant in the community. It was so much fun. It wasn't what anybody wanted. Everybody wanted to see a great broadcast. Everybody wanted to see something new and spectacular. But what we got was possibly memes for years. We got a really fun, slightly awkward exchange between the guy we dubbed as Goog and Rich Gould and Calvin Heimberg. And then you hear the guy talking to Jeremy, asking the most ridiculous questions for a pay-per-view event.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother discussion. And this guy is, as we said, he's a Hall of Fame broadcaster in Missouri. He was a broadcaster for the 2019 Blues Stanley Cup run. He was a broadcaster for St. Louis, I think the St. Louis Cardinals, and some playoff run they made. I don't like the Cardinals, so I hate them. So I'm not going to talk about them.
Yeah.
But suck it,
Mark
Molina.
McGuire.
Yeah, and Mark McGuire. No, Mark McGuire is always going to be an A. I don't.
Him and Jose Canseco,
I don't count
Bash
his
brothers.
I don't count his Cardinals years. He's in athletic. Okay, Terry.
All right. All right.
So-
Him and the Acker
That's
Sleeve.
right. Him and Ack with the mullet. And so anyway, if you weren't part of that, I'm sorry you missed out. And I get it. A lot of people are like, I'm glad I didn't pay my $15. I can understand that.
That's fine.
But that afternoon, I had so much to do and I couldn't pull myself away from the
Me
chat.
too.
I couldn't pull myself away from some miserable, like watching Jeremy Colling and Rich just have to fill time. It was so much fun. And I don't regret that. I don't want $15. I want a shirt. I want a shirt that's like, I survived the Goog or something. I made it through the Big Money Skins broadcast. That's what I want. And if I'll say, if GK Pro doesn't try to monetize the memes on this, I think they might be missing out just a little bit. So ultimately, we all wanted to see something great. And that's not what happened, unfortunately, because I've said in a lot of different places, I love Disc Golf Network. I work for them. I think they're, I work with them, not for them. I work with them as a contractor. But I'm also a huge fan of competition. I think when somebody steps in and can show you something different, you look at things in a new light. And that's what I was looking forward to. What can we see on it with a close to 6-figure broadcast, hardwired, mesh network, all that stuff. And unfortunately, we found out from this particular production that it didn't necessarily work out the way they thought it would. So I'm hoping that this isn't the last live company to try to step in and do disc golf. I don't think it will be, because if disc golf keeps expanding, we're going to see more people want to dip their toes in and get a piece of the pie. I'm a supporter of Disc Golf Stream, the European streaming network. I pay for that one. I watch that when I can in the mornings before like disc golf broadcasts or whatever. I like to watch live, and I think that is a big and important thing to do for our business. We need to see alternatives, and that's what I was hoping for. But that ain't what I got. I got the Goog.
Well, you got an alternative.
I got an alternative. I got to see people step on the slab.
Yeah,
I got
on the slab.
On the slab.
Which is not, I cannot say this enough. I know we made the joke. It's not terrible. It's at least unique. It's original. I mean, clearly it's a tee. It's a tee pad. We have a tee in golf, of course.
It does look like a slab.
It is. It's a slab of concrete. Like it's legit. He's not wrong with it. And I, in fact, don't mind that. The one that I think there was a lot of good lines, but just when his burst of excitement to then yell out whammo, like that one, even with a guy filled with endless terrible puns and dad jokes, that one still didn't make me feel good. And maybe just because
Whammo is a company that's been known for disc golf in the past, and it did not, or it did make you feel good?
It did not, because
I mean, the funny part is he probably didn't even make the equation in his head like Whammo is a disc company.
Oh no, I think he did. I think it was intentional.
You think it was intentional?
I think so.
Whammo is
like he yelled out Whammo, thinking it's Frisbee related.
Maybe
there's a burning question. If there's a follow up, some are saying we should have him on the show tonight, which would have been a good idea. That would be a good question, is if that was an intentional pun or play on Frisbee. I have to think it was. Knowing his history, knowing his background, his sport, his sports background in broadcasting. Because he clearly, I mean, he went to Wikipedia. He hung out on disc golf.
Well, he talked about the holy shot.
So I mean, he was doing his homework, and again, from another perspective, I'm thinking totally selfishly of like, what would I do if I got dropped into a sport? He clearly has covered all these sports. Mm-hmm. What if I got dropped into? I'll throw another niche sport out there, like a cornhole or whatever. Ultimate, I know a little bit more about, but some other sport that's not mainstream that I know very little to almost a bags. Yeah, well, I guess that's cornhole. But drop me into one of those and then make me the broadcaster, the host.
See, I guess
it depends on how it's set up, because like you said, it was pay-per-view, so everybody that was tuned in knew disc golf.
So we didn't need
the explainers.
We didn't need Jeremy and Rich going through, like, literally at one point Jeremy was talking about what a hyzer is.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But I understand, like, when at that point, like it's again, hindsight 2020, it's all funny now. But as Isaac is on the board, as he said, maybe things will change a little bit once the pain kind of fades away a little bit. And I get that. Trust me. There's been Monday mornings or Tuesdays that I've not wanted to do broadcasts because I knew the weekend didn't go so hot. But when Rich gets there and sees what an absolute train wreck, because he's just a hired gun.
Okay.
I don't think he has anything to do with the actual broadcast. I think he's just a hired gun that's like, hey, you're a professional broadcaster. We can drop you into a situation, learn a little bit about disc golf, and fill time. Throw to commercials when they are some, and maybe just do your general play-by-play thing. And we'll put you with someone who knows what they're talking about. I don't think he probably had much to do with the actual technology side. But when you do that, when he gets there and he sits down and he realizes, oh crap, this is not going to go the way I want it to today. We're not going to see a lot of golf. We're not going to see this. We're not going to see that. I mean, he did maybe the best he could. Like, I know a lot of people were ripping him like, oh, he should have done more research in this and that. But,
well, yeah, it's kind of was.
You're stuck. You're stuck there for a day.
Yeah, to some degree, it kind of depended on, what his, and maybe I think he over or underestimated whether it was the time that needed to be filled and or how segments or transitions might work. And so he clearly had some information that he clearly researched. There was no doubt about it. And what he was talking about and the origins of disc golf and or frisbees in the 1927 and I did remember rolling my eyes just thinking
1927.
Yeah, exactly. And I rolled my eyes and I'm like, all right, this might go off the rails here, depending on what he used for a source.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So here's the real question. Here's the big takeaway. Okay. Often, and it could be from a dislike of me or any other host, often we hear people say, disc golf needs professional broadcasters.
Oh, we got one. Bring in the Googs.
My question to you now is, and I'm not ripping on him, but now that is a snapshot of a guy who is not a disc golfer. And I know he's just a one-off scenario, but does that at all sway the opinion of people that know nothing about disc golf? Should they be hosting a disc golf?
No, this was not the scenario for Rich. Now, if you gave Rich, we'll just say you hire Rich right now. You say, Rich, you're going to be, for a year, you're going to be the voice of disc golf. You have from November 1st until February 27th or whatever the day is, that 25th, whatever the Pro Tour starts. Your job is to learn disc golf. Here are the players. Here's the sport. You are a professional. I think Rich probably does a good job. I think, but you can't drop somebody. I don't care if you drop Bob Costas in there. He might be a little entertaining, but he's going to sound like an idiot because he doesn't know the sport. And my guess is that I don't know how long that Rich knew he had the gig, what basic research he did, if he thought it was just I don't know, if he thought it was a paycheck. Isaac is on the board, and I'm assuming that's Isaac from GK Pro. And he says, Rich got screwed in all of this. I feel so freaking bad for him, for him, Germ, and Luke, that he was standing around there saying, like, WTF is going on around me. Again, I think Rich just in general, unfortunate, probably a great broadcaster.
There's no doubt about that.
He's, like I said, he's in the Missouri Hall of Fame for broadcasters.
Yeah, they don't just let anyone into that.
They don't.
I can't even name another person.
It's not like the Iowa broadcasters.
No.
They let any Yahoo in there.
Yeah.
Not Missouri. They have a
like I said, I couldn't even name another person that they've let into the Missouri.
That's right. Me neither. So unfortunately for Rich, but yes, you're saying, should we? People are saying we need professional broadcasters. I think Rich could be a good professional broadcaster with a little bit more prep, probably a little bit more time. But this is, and yes, you can fault him for this. It was a one-off gig. He probably thought he could collect a paycheck, which he hopefully did for his time, and get through with some help from Luke and Germ. And as everyone is saying on the board, Germ was a hero. He was able to carry the show at times, just with stories and what, player information and talking to Rich. Germs helped a very poor, you put Germ in a lifeboat with a giant hole in it, and he bailed water pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
for sure.
And that's that's good on Germ. So, but ultimately, I don't know if we need professional broadcasters. An event like this, not a good idea, period. I think this is one where you probably look at someone internal to the sport that has some experience. I think of, like, of course, you, Robert McCall, Charlie Eisenhood, someone that knows what's going on. I think that would have been a better move. But again, you give someone with professional broadcast experience a little bit of run up and tell them that this is their gig for a long-term deal. I would be interested to see how that would pan out. And I don't know if it's any better than what we have now, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think it's been said time and time again, all of us that are within DGN, we've had these conversations that we know, literally every one of us knows there's room for improvement, whether you're a color commentator or you're a host like myself and Ian and
me,
Charlie and Johnny. Yes. Oh God.
We'll get there. We'll get there, folks.
Yeah, all of us are more than ready, willing, and able to have some professional insight and feedback and training in those capacities. I somebody just said on the board, like, imagine dropping me into a
professional volleyball match.
Well,
where, I mean, volleyball, you know the rules.
No, they said skateboarding, where I don't know all the tricks, and that's a great example of
slalom skiing.
Yeah, where it's like I can't imagine, and I know that would be very, of course, incredibly difficult. And then I think it does
steeplechase.
I think it goes back to
steeple run. I forget what it's called.
What is because if the host is supposed
decathlon, I'm just gonna name
play
sports
dummy,
you'd be really shitty at.
To play, like the just lob up questions, then I think there's that's a set way. That's
water
a set strategy.
polo.
But if the host is there to help, like, provide additional insight,
equestrian,
that's a really tough one for Rich to do.
I can name a lot.
But he had
really bad at.
He had 3 touchdowns.
1972, 3 touchdowns against the Ozark team. Not his best game, though, because at one point he almost started to talk about his 6 touchdown game against somebody else.
But I thought that was somebody else.
I think that was him.
I got to go back.
But
Let me check the tape.
But it was against a different team.
All right. So with all of that, let's...
we can move off of that. Congratulate Isaac, who is on the board. Thank you very much. You guys are heroes. I know it sucks to have something like that fall on you. Again, trust me, from the bottom of my heart, I feel you. I understand where you're coming from. That particular type of broadcast in the future, I will say something like that. If someone internally is looking at doing that, don't be afraid to reach out to me or Terry or anyone, because we can help in general. Because a broadcast like that, I think you need almost like 30 to 60 days prep to know what you don't know. Because I still don't understand how what the plan was for a roaming camera, as we know, because right now they didn't plan on using the live views, and the course can only do so much. If it's mesh network, that mesh network, I guarantee you, doesn't cover that whole course. And if it does, it's not strong enough to do whatever. How the commentators are going to get the info from the course, because we use UDisc for most of our events, where it's like, cool, we know what shot they're on because we have somebody scoring that card. I don't know how the broadcasters were going to get that information. Maybe you guys had a plan. Maybe there was no plan from this other media company. But in general, if you ever have questions, please, by all means, reach out. We're contractors for DGN. We don't work for them. We can help you too.
All right.
Did you sign an exclusivity agreement yet?
No. I'm gonna.
Okay. That's right. We got to ask for that cash.
Make that money. All right. So this weekend, if you thought Rich was amazing, step right on up. Johnny V.
So wait. So Charlie Eisenhood. So this weekend was going to be the Lake Marshall, but now we're doing the NADGT in Austin, Texas, at the Live Oak Barrel Brewery. There's a course, a 13-hole course there, that the Disc Golf Network is going to be broadcasting live. They asked Charlie Eisenhood. Too busy.
Oh, Charlie.
They asked Ian Anderson. Not available. They asked Terry Miller. Unfortunately not available.
No.
So.
I think there's one more.
I'm sure there was. Who else has done a broadcast?
Grant Zellner.
Grant Zellner from the PDGA. Not available. So.
Step right up.
They dug through the archives. They went to 2012 PDGA Worlds commentator.
2011.
2011. Sorry, thank you. Whatever year. It's
I'll
2012
be
was
your
Charlotte.
fact machine.
Thanks. 2012 was Charlotte. 2011 was Santa Cruz. 2011, they dug through the archives and they said, who hasn't had their chance at live broadcasting since 2011?
Oh, I think they ignored Dustin.
Dust Moreau. They asked him. He was busy.
And
then so after you scratch off the bottom of the list, you go to the top. The number one person that you want to do your live broadcast, Johnny V.
Uh-huh.
Booyah. I will be making my hopefully commentary debut this weekend for the NADGT on a course I don't know, with players I don't know, and no, count it 0, UDisc help.
Boom.
So when you need someone that's going to just literally make things up on the fly, you know the guy to go to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure what they did is they probably called John Duzler and said, can we find that 2011 footage? They listened to it.
Yep.
And they said,
oh, damn, this is
wow.
good.
How has this guy
good.
never gotten a
Step
chance?
aside, Rich. You don't get a second chance before Johnny V does.
Rich Gould, back up.
Yep, go back to your Hall of Fame.
We're bringing in the A-team. Literally, Mr. T.
Yep.
And I can't think of anyone else who was on the A-team.
I don't know any of them.
But hey, no.
Along with the Scooby-Doo folks.
The Scooby-Doo folks. They had weird vans.
Yep.
They both had weird vans, yeah. That's odd.
I think all heroes do.
But in all seriousness, a couple weeks ago when we were doing a broadcast, our primary audio person, Tosi, and I were talking, and we were just in general chatting, and I said, I've done almost every job in the Disc Golf Network and Smashbox for the past 7 years, other than commentary. I said, I know every position. I said, I've never done commentary. And even at the time, I was like, it's something I would be interested in, just to kind of say that I've done every job. I've done graphics. I've had to run replay with Gary. You know, I've done the directing and producing at the same time. Not like the producing like Mo does, where it's a dedicated job where he actually puts in a ton of effort. My producing was more on the fly back in the day. I said, but I've never done commentary, and it's something I would maybe like to try someday. Well, let me tell you, when everybody else bails,
Johnny V fails.
Johnny V fails. I will be stepping inside the booth, probably right here, to do some commentary with Christine Jennings. Now, great. No, let me say this. This isn't 100% set in stone.
You could still get replaced?
I could still get replaced. I should still get replaced.
Okay.
I talked with Mo, and I said, hey, I'm available this weekend if nobody else is. Like, I'm happy to do it. I will cover whatever needs to be done at this NADGT event.
Somebody's calling Rich right now.
A bunch of players that nobody knows, on a broadcast that few will probably watch, and it will be a lot of fun. I think me and Christine could have quite an enjoyable time doing this. But in the off chance that they do find somebody else to cover, I could be replaced.
Gosh, don't break our heart.
And I would be
not tease us that way.
I would be okay with that. I am looking forward to doing this.
Tease.
But I think that if they do find someone who is a little bit more prepared, I don't say prepared, a little bit more experienced for the position, by all means, I told them, please let them do that. But in general, I think it could be fun to get my dip my toes in the commentary pool, which I, again, literally haven't done live since 2011. And I did, I think, one post-production
you did some post with me
with you once or twice, way back in the day. I'd like to do a little bit of post on an event or players that I know. I think when I did it with you, it was a course I didn't know with some general players, 3 or 4 of which I didn't know, and probably one pro who I did. So I'm excited this weekend to try something new. Honestly, it's going to be 2 9-hole rounds, with the top 4 men and the top 4 women in the field. Each round should probably be about an hour and a half of Christine and I vamping and talking. And so here's what I need from the board or message board. If you want to leave a message, we need a fun catchphrase, something that I can say a lot, like, you know,
that's what Terry would have said. That can be your bailout.
That's what Terry would have said?
Yeah, you can say something stupid. Be like, Miller would have said that. I need a catchphrase. Because you don't, do you have I don't have a catchphrase.
I know, you need a catchphrase, Terry. Everyone needs a catchphrase.
I'm waiting for one to organically develop.
I understand
years
that.
later.
I understand that. It's been a long time though, so your organs aren't developing over there.
No.
So so please, Mo recommended Zippity Doodah Zippity Day. And I don't know if that's gonna fly with me.
I think there might be a legality there.
There very well could be. I don't know if I want to be quoting Song of the South when Disney won't even release it because it's relatively racist. So I don't know if that's the one I want to choose. But in general, we're gonna have some fun. So if you're interested, you're probably not, in watching this weekend, please by all means tune in to the NADGT and see our new top players that'll probably be the stars of tomorrow. So, in 2 years, when one of these guys makes or women makes the lead card of our Pro Tour event, and they have to pull up old footage, and they hear me saying,
geez.
"Look at that, zippity doodah, zippity day." That's
Right.
stuck forever.
You're gonna permanently ruin.
I'm
going to
ruin somebody's kids.
Yeah.
But in general, I mean, we saw Kyle Klein come from NADGT. He was one of the champions. Last year, it was the redhead kid.
Evan Scott.
Evan Scott, thank you.
Evan Smith.
Evan Scott.
They're both really good and from the same neighborhood.
Yeah,
so it's not fair.
Yeah, it's not fair. We can't. You can't expect us to remember that crap.
Silas Schultz.
Silas Schultz was a winner of a vehicle.
Yeah,
that he couldn't drive
many years ago. So yeah, it's
NADG has a really good history of some pretty solid players.
It certainly has. It's doing exactly what they wanted to do.
Yeah. As Ray says, NADGT is the National Amateur Disc Golf Tour.
Yes. So
ultimately, don't let me dissuade you from watching just because I might be broadcasting. I'm going to class up the joint though, Terry. I'm going full suit jacket.
Oh yeah. That's how you need to debut.
For the 3 minutes I plan on being on camera.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Suit jacket.
As
I always said that if I got in commentary, that's what I would do, and that's what I'm going to do.
Okay, I like it. And Chain Banger, thank you with the correction for us. Micah Groth was in fact.
Yes.
It was
Groth.
Not Evan Scott or Evan Smith, who were probably both contenders.
Yeah, I can picture. Like I said, I can picture the kid with the haircut that swoops down over his forehead. I just couldn't remember the actual name.
EF sa's, what's Dave Feldberg's connection to NADGT? Dave, I'm gonna say is like the owner. If I don't know exactly how the
CEO
organizational chart works, but essentially, I mean, for lack of a better phrase, we'll call him the owner president type
inventor.
He's in charge.
He came up with the NADGT.
Is it post coverage? No, it'll be live. If that's what you're talking about. I don't know if there'll be any post production that comes as a result of it or not, or if it'll be exclusively just live.
I haven't heard.
If it's 9 holes, something tells me that it will just.
Are you prepared to lose your job to me?
I am, and as Tim says, can we mute Johnny V and listen to Christine? That that should be an offer. I agree with that. Or an option.
That's the companion stream.
Yes,
it'll be just Christine.
And then B, I'll repeat what I just put in the chat, which is there's some days I'm glad I'm deaf in one ear, so that I can maybe listen.
Just take one headphone off and just listen to me.
There are some days I'm very glad. So good luck. I just want to know at what point when I tune in, because I'll be out at the course or something.
Oh, you're not going to tune in. Don't lie.
I'll tune in and it's just Christine, and then I get a text from you like, yeah, they pulled me off. I'm tired. Like, I'm done. I'm out. Yeah.
It's Mo jumped in for me.
Or Mo comes in and tells me. So good.
And as I told Mo, I said I can talk golf. I can talk players that I don't know, courses that I don't know. I'll do my research on the course. I saw Connor O'Reilly actually did a walkthrough of the full 12 or 13 holes, whatever it is. I don't believe they're doing all of those. I think they're just going to pick 9, probably do a safari of some sort. The part that is that's going to make me stumble, and I know at some point, hopefully, I'll be able to. I'll do a little practice and get through it. But is probably like the intro and maybe throwing to commercials, where suddenly Mo is like, or that's not going to be Mo. It's going to be Tosi. Like, hey, we're going to a commercial. So and I need to
just yell commercial.
Just commercial.
Whatever he says. Commercial.
This is as soon as it says it in his head,
people will get the hint.
Going to sponsor.
It'll be easy.
So those are the parts that to me are the most difficult of anything, because everything else, I mean, I watch you do it, Terry. You're just reading off the screen.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Yes.
Like, cool. Mo's gonna flash up a graphic, and you're gonna and I watch you lean forward and squint a little bit, like, oh yeah, Evan Scott from Joliet, Tennessee. Is that what? He his mom. I'm friends with his mom on Instagram. And like that's Terry Miller for you right there.
You're not gonna have those friendships though. You might be a little lost.
You're right. I will not have the player's mom's friend as friends like you do.
Well, good luck, and
Thank you.
well, I mean, this is a contract year, so
I mean,
could be
Terry,
the
if
end
we
of
don't
Johnny
get
D.
invited back next year, you know why.
the question is, do I go down with the sinking ship? Is the next question, I suppose. We'll probably.
Oh
find
no,
out.
you bail, Terry. We've been friends since we were like 14. We've known each other since we were 14. We've been really friends since we're about 17, 18. You bail like a madman. You just ditch me. You just don't even.
I don't even know that guy.
Don't even
Like
give me a
who?
life preserver.
No, those 400 episodes together, that wasn't me or him.
I don't recall. I think that was his brother. That was his twin brother. That just.
Yeah. Well, good luck, and I won't be tuning in.
I know.
So, and then we had some other stuff of note.
There's nothing else of note, Terry.
Yeah, no, there is some stuff that's actually important.
One of the things we wanted to talk about. I want to congratulate Owen Scoggins. I know I brought her up earlier, but she was inducted to the. And I'm going to screw this up, Terry. Hopefully you have it there. I believe it's the Lao American Hall of Fame, Sports Hall of Fame, something along those lines. And I feel bad because now I'm murdering it. And I had it.
This hosting thing is you've got it nailed.
I literally had it brought up just a second ago, and introduction to the
forward.
I was right.
Forward, read it.
The Lao American Sports Hall of Fame. So congratulations to Owen Scoggins on that.
For sure.
She well deserved, the number 2 player in our sport right now. She did a podcast with some people. Talking about just her coming up through the sport and how she met her husband and how he introduced her. So in general, I mean, you know me, you know Terry. We both absolutely love Owen and think she's the most spectacular person in the world. And in general, I think she should be playing the NADGT, so I have a lot more fun, but she's not.
I'll just say this. What the F is wrong with you if you don't like Owen Scoggins? Like, at that point,
there has to be one person.
There might be, but I just keep thinking like that's a you problem.
Of course,
that's clearly not an own problem. You would have to dig deep, or have some petty, or just because she beats you or something. There would have to be some really, really outrageous, petty, ridiculous something for you to dislike Owen Scoggins.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I'm with you.
And there's very few people on the planet I think you could say that so emphatically about. Mm-hmm. But she's definitely
you
one of them.
And I can completely understand why people wouldn't like
heck
us.
Yeah, I don't even like you.
I barely like you. I barely like me. Let's be honest.
But Owen,
you can't not love her.
Exactly. So.
Oh, maybe the parking attendant at T-Glow. He's the one guy that doesn't.
I think that was Worlds, but yeah.
at Masters Worlds.
Yeah.
He's the one guy that maybe has
the story. Yeah.
Long story.
I've heard
go back and look.
Stories.
Go back and look.
But yes, I guess if there's any truth to that alleged story, then yes, then maybe.
So congratulations to Owen. It's honestly, that's an honor, and it's something hopefully that she is extremely proud of, because she should be.
Yeah, awesome. I'm checking in with registrations. They're still pouring in. I also do, again, because we do have a lot of regional listeners, in 2 weeks, we are going to have on November 4th here in Milwaukee area. It's technically Oconomowoc, or as our deaf disc golfers taught me, that they refer to it as 05, because there's 5 O's in Oconomowoc, which has to be just a pain to spell out, to finger spell.
Oh, yeah, to finger spell.
So they call it 05.
I always remember how to spell it, because it's an O every other letter. Oconomowoc.
Yeah, there's 5 of them. Anyway,
yep.
Wow. Out at Wisconsin Brewery Park, Wisconsin, something or other park. It's in Oconomowoc. It's a brand new AA park. Absolutely beautiful. I think it's the Blue Hounds or the Dog Hounds or the Hounds. We're going to have a disc golf event taking place out there. It's going to be largely like this walk around 9 holes of putting. Drink Wisconsinly is actually having their big party for their release of a beverage. I almost brought you, Johnny. It is their first ever canned old fashioned.
Oh, you should have brought that, Terry Miller.
I didn't want to give one up to you.
You're such a dickhead.
That's why I didn't bring it, because the cans that I was given yesterday, I want to drink. So
literally, I'm sitting here like
I know
I'm drinking a Bulliet whiskey, and you know
I know I almost did it. I was like, no, but I want to drink it. I'll get you a can.
Thank you, because Thursday nights we used to go to Murph's, where it was Long Island night.
Tuesday nights we went to Murph's. Thursday night we went to the Liney Lodge, and maybe Thursday nights we eventually got to. Murph's.
We went there on Thursdays because Thursdays was
that's true.
Thursdays
Eventually.
was the was Long Island night, and so we would go there for a good 6, 7, 8 months every Thursday.
That's where you got the nickname Long Island Medium.
I don't think I ever heard that, but sure. And we would partake in the epic Long Islands and have on Tuesday nights. I think we had a dart league, and I like my Long Islands, Terry. So the fact that you didn't bring me one,
these are old fashions, so similar but different.
I'm
but
sorry, I
still
thought you
delicious.
said Long Island.
No.
Old fashioned. I love me an old fashioned too.
You would love this.
That's
I
a classic Wisconsin drink.
I obliged and I tasted. I was given a 4-pack. And so it's all like in the works to be finalized, and they're having a big party to release this. And
wow.
it was phenomenal. It's phenomenal. So they're doing that. That's going to be on the 4th of November. So in Oconomowoc area, it's free. There's going to be disc golf vendors. They're going to have some bags. Cornhole people there doing some stuff. You can participate in disc golf for free and play out on the actual course. I was going to say.
So is it an old fashioned whiskey, or is it old fashioned sweet or sour?
It's like an old fashioned sweet.
Old fashioned sweet. Okay. There's a lot of varieties in Wisconsin on how you take your old fashioned. It's traditionally a not as a diner drink, but
supper club,
but more like a supper club type drink in northern Wisconsin. And there's a few different ways you can take it.
Yeah, well, so it's Wisconsin Brewing Company Field in Oconomowoc. That's where it's going to be taking place. So I just wanted to let everybody, I believe it's like noon to 4. It's going to be taking place. I had the pleasure of scouting it out with Drink Wisconsinly yesterday, and it's just going to be this really awesome, fun activity. So if you're anywhere within a few hours, of course, we invite you to join us. The next week.
When is that?
That's Saturday, November 4th. So not this Saturday, but next. And then the next weekend on Saturday, there's going to be, again, a 9 or a 10-hole course set up over at Trimborn Farms, which I don't think you got to last year.
I have not been there yet.
Again, it's this beautiful property that's near one of the local disc golf courses in Milwaukee, but it's going to be set up as a temporary course. Again, we had a course there last year. That actually had, like, shots to throw, and that will be a fundraiser for a gentleman who I believe has stage 4 cancer, a disc golfer. So that's going to be taking place the following weekend on November 11th. So I just want to throw those two things out there. Yeah. And I feel like I'm getting my Saturdays already mixed up. I'm sorry. The 5th and the 12th. Yeah, I was off by a day. The 5th and the 12th. But the next 2 weekends after this weekend. After Johnny V's big debut.
My big debut in the series.
So anywhere, and again, I know we have a lot of Illinois, Minnesota, Wisconsin listeners. So any and all of you, hopefully you can find one or both of those in the next few weeks to come hang out. But it was a really cool field, all done up. It's only 2 years old, all astroturfed in a sense. So we're not, going to be wrecking anything of that nature, and just really exciting to be at the park to check it out. So looking forward to it. All right.
Should we wrap this show up and get into an after show, Terry Miller?
I guess we probably
We got
should.
things to give away. We got Patreon supporters.
Oh, yeah. Look at this. Quick plug already.
An empty bag of jerky.
No, I dug some out.
Oh, fine.
And I think I'll be able to let one of these go. I've got some smashed cracked pepper. If you absolutely need one of my hot boom sauces, if you get to me early enough, maybe I'll send that instead. But right now, I've got a smashed cracked pepper for one of our smashies out
It's
there.
just the bag because I'm going to eat the jerky. You're going to get an empty bag of smashed cracked pepper.
You just might. So we're going to close it out. Yes, TM Cold Turkey registration is open, and it is more than halfway sold out for both days. Good thing we'll have a flex start on top of it. Tons of good stuff going on. Please go out and we keep inviting you to Wisconsin for all these things, all for good reason. Thank you to Holly Finley, who lived here in Wisconsin for quite a few years. Thank you to her for joining us as your champion of the Down East Players Cup from this past weekend. Congrats to all the others that had good performances and play this weekend. We're looking forward to GK Big Money Skins match being released in the next couple of days. Thank you to GK Pro for the insights, and we wish everything to continue to go well there. I think we're going to call it for Johnny V. I'm the disc golf guy. Disc golf. See, this is how you close a show. I'm the disc golf guy. That's
taking
been
notes.
podcast 426. We're going to stand down for just a moment. Then we're going to come to you at the after show where stuff's going to get wild. We'll see you then. You step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashboxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV Podcast 426's
After
Show.
Maybe that'll be my catchphrase.
Here we are in the after show.
He sunk that putt like the after show.
Nonstop.
Just constantly. How many times can I plug Smashbox?
I was just going to say, make sure when you're doing commentary this weekend that whatever it is, it's borderline either offensive and or just people hate it. Absolutely hate it.
Give me some tips, Terry. Like, what should I say that's offensive? I'm going to step out of frame now. Hold on.
I'll think of some for you.
Okay.
I'll text them to you, and whatever I text you, you must read on air. It'll be like Impractical Jokers.
Okay. Yes,
That's a good way to do it.
That would be fantastic.
Welcome back, everyone. Here we are in the after show. If you're new here, I'm sorry. I'd run right away, turn it off. But if you've been here before, you probably know in the after show, we go off script, which, okay, we never have any script.
We used to have a script.
We did have somewhat of a show layout, show notes.
Back
and
in
we
the day.
abandoned those like 300 episodes ago.
Yes, I think we made it up to somewhere in the mid 100s where I had a spreadsheet every day. Every Tuesday I would fill in like, hey, what should we talk about? And we're going to have Dana on. And, and at some point when it just became the same thing, like you and me open the show, Dana comes on, then we have a guest, and then we talk golf, whatever. I felt it was like, I don't need the show notes anymore.
Now we just ramble for hours on end with no segments. We pretty much do it just like they do over there on
every other
the Nick and Matt show.
Yeah.
Just kidding. When I was in studio guest on their show, it honestly it didn't make me uncomfortable. It was crazy though, like almost down to the minute which I'm not ripping on. Clearly, I loved
respect
it
that.
and very much respect it. But it was so different. Like, hey, we're going to talk about this for 10 minutes, and then we're going to talk about this for 6 minutes, or we're going to talk about this for 15 minutes, and then we pretty much get out of it. And
that sounds stifling. I mean,
you can't hold me back, man.
If I want to talk for 8 minutes about
PDGA numbers and
about why they chose Kentucky bluegrass on the course instead of fescue, I will do that, Nick and Matt.
Yes, well, there's a reason somehow these drift into 3 and 4 hours long.
You can't stop.
So if you're new here, like we said, after show can be about anything. Oftentimes, you guys really help drive the show, in that we take a look at what's coming in either on Facebook and or on YouTube. If you got questions, well, we've got BS to feed you. So Aaron Kirsch thinks balls deep is the
that's the catchphrase?
Yeah.
Wow. Huh. For MPO or FPO? Like, would it be better for FPO?
You be the judge.
Okay.
Surprise us.
I don't think that's gonna fly. Sorry. We'll work on something else.
All right.
I might get fired before I get hired. Just saying, if we keep this up.
Yeah, that's a good call. You said you were going to say what? And then they open the show. You open the show and they just cut your mic, and that's it.
Hi, I'm John.
That's it. All right. Trevor says, "Boom goes the dynamite. Feels like 20 years ago, and to think it was really 8. Almost 8.
Yeah."
Coming up on 8 years ago, or a little less than. Now you just rely on YouTube chat to give you all the material. That's not entirely inaccurate. Yeah.
Well, we want to make sure if there's a subject you want to talk about that we address it. I mean, part of it is us being lazy. Part of it is us, really pandering to our community.
That's what we do. Dan Harbeck, who I had a great conversation with the other day, was so kind. He says, "I have to say I'm a little disappointed." That scrolled up on me at the lack of support for the show.
Oh, I was to say that they didn't call him for commentary.
That would have been a good idea. Dan Harbeck, we appreciate your smashiness. Thank you. And it is very, very appropriate to make mention as well that Dan Harbeck and his company have stepped up to graciously support and largely support the cold turkey that registration, which just opened tonight. What a coinky dink. So thank you, Dan. We very much appreciate it. Looking to give out some pizza. Everybody loves pizza in the middle of winter.
I do like
early
pizza.
Goings of winter. All right, let's see what else we got on here. I'm going to keep reading down some of this. Would you consider changing your podcast name to Smash Slab?
Well, I think Tim had coined it Step Inside the Slab Box.
Yep. Okay, I like those. Spock says, how about them Chicago Bears? All I'm going to say,
they beat the Patriots. Good for them.
Is that right now I could only name the record of one NFL team, and I think I've seen 1 out of 7 games from the Packers. They're 3-4.
They're 3-4. They're looking very bad.
I don't think is good. I'm not
it's
a football
almost
fanatic.
Almost 500. So I mean, really.
But yeah, that's literally Normally I pay very little attention to the NFL until like playoffs, only because things are crazy. Yeah. More so. Let me rephrase that. I don't pay much attention because if there's anything else going on a Sunday that has any other form of work/priority, I give it that. That's all. Anyway, so the Packers, I believe, aren't doing well. That's the only thing I know on the year. I don't believe I get to still ask this. With the Packers being 3-4, is that a better or worse record than the Bears?
It might be the same record as the Bears.
So now I gotta look. Of the whole Bears-Packers rivalries here, guys.
Mm-hmm.
With the Bears are 3-4.
Yeah, I thought it was the
along
same.
with the New England Patriots.
Very big football fan over here.
So
in the New England.
The Packers are having one of their worst seasons in a long time. They're only just still tied with the Bears. I mean, not having necessarily one of their worst seasons in a long time.
The Lions are looking a little bit better than they have in the past. The Vikings,
they have a win this year?
Lions, yeah, they do.
Oh.
Yeah,
they're really coming up.
They're actually not a bad team. I mean, They are kind of still a bad team, but they're not the worst team. Vikings are a solid team. Packers are 3-4. Aaron Rodgers looks disinterested. We don't really have a solid wide receiver core. We don't.
And one of our receiver guys, catcher guys,
Alan
might be
Lazard.
injured.
He's got some sort of shoulder injury. So
I did see that.
And he was kind of our most. He was supposed to be our quote unquote number one, which honestly he's not even a number one. He's probably more of like a number two on any other team. But yeah, so instead we've got a bunch of guys who really don't know the playbook. Well, I mean, I'm sure they know the playbook, but they're not experienced.
So
it's tough. I mean,
he doesn't still like just go to Sharp or Jordy Nelson?
No, he can't throw to Jordy anymore, or James Jones,
or Sterling Sharp.
Well, I don't know if
he
ever could throw to Sterling Sharp. That was more of a Favre thing and a Don Mikowski thing.
Yeah, the Magic Man.
But yes.
All right.
And so the Packers defense is mediocre. I mean, they're supposed to be good, but they show signs of life, but in general they don't seem to be able to hold anybody. It's just it's a sad day. Like as Jay Tyrus says, Brady and Rodgers are both they're both looking bad this year. It's like suddenly
it's like they're old.
The old quarterbacks just last year he was an MVP. This year PVM, backwards, I don't know.
It's that girlfriend
or lack of.
I don't know.
But it's just
you said I was gonna make a Reggie White reference, and then you said there's just not a lot of life or something. Then now I feel bad.
Yeah, because he's dead.
Yeah. Jeez. All right, moving on.
Terry.
Put the lotion on the basket. I like that. I think
that would be a good one right there.
Put the lotion.
You're familiar with it?
No, I don't. Am I not?
You're not. So that is that is a saying from the Silence of the Lambs movie.
Okay, which I saw once.
Yeah, same here. Buffalo Bill Hickok, I believe was the serial killer's name. Kidnapped somebody and put them at the bottom of a pit, and so he would, before he killed them, I'm assuming he lowered things down to them, and I think again, it's been a long time since I've seen this, but more or less the phrase is like, put the lotion in the basket. And it's creepy, and it's probably nothing you ever want to say on broadcast. So, which means I should probably say it.
I think so.
And like, oh, look at that kid. He put the lotion in the basket. Nah, probably not.
I could get behind that one.
Someone says it's also from Joe Dirt. Nah, I mean, it might be, but it came from Silence of the Lambs. I'm in my 40s, so that's where it comes from.
So I missed the entire thing. Where do I see the big money final round? It's not out yet. And this might be the last time I address it.
Go to GK Pro Skins, look for round 1 live coverage, and watch that.
GK Pro very much made an announcement many times since Saturday now, just saying we're going to post-produce it, and it's going to be out as soon as they can. It is going to be of significant editing, extra effort and energies, and so as we've kind of already committed here on the show, we're not spoiling the people. Some people know the answer. Some people know
it's out there.
Won.
In fact, I think it was posted on our chat at one point.
Yeah, tonight. I mean, if you really want to dig around, it is all out there. But we are not actively blasting it out there because of the nature in which they're trying to actually hold this one back. What would be the ideal location for DGPT to buy land and create their own championship level course? Milwaukee? No.
Somewhere in the southeast
or southwest. Just a place that could have golf year round. The southeast, the Charlotte area, that general area.
I just feel like if you
does make the most sense, population wise, player wise, topography
is what I'm thinking.
All of those things.
If you go to the southwest, you're probably you could probably find a lot of land, but you're not going to get varied land. You're not going to get a lot of elevation.
Buy the state of New Mexico.
Still, you're not getting a lot of elevation or trees probably if you want to play around.
Just buy the state of New Mexico.
You know, to me, it would make sense for more in the southeast location to buy 40 acres maybe.
Oh, I bet you it'll be way more than that.
It probably will be, but like 40 would be the
happen.
base of what you would need probably for like a decent championship level course.
Yeah, I mean, think of I don't think this is a big secret, but think, especially because we just talked about
and
it.
Even if it is, we'll say it.
Yeah, but no, as we just talked about with the Hall of Fame committee members a few weeks ago at the press conference for the USDGC, they essentially sounded like they want to take the blueprint that is the IDGC and make a carbon copy. They want multiple courses, and they want a hosting foundation location, headquarters, museum type thing. If you've ever been to the IDGC, the International Disc Golf Center, first of all, it's pretty damn cool. I'll just say that.
It's
outright.
4 courses. It's awesome.
Yeah, they've got the courses, and then they've got the Hall of Fame. They've got a pro shop. I don't think it's a far stretch that any disc golf organization and or company would love to essentially duplicate that floor plan, so to speak, where you've got a business center. Maybe it can be used for some media stuff more than anything here. I mean, I don't know if we need as many offices as maybe some media opportunities. Maybe there's some kind of a museum and or a pro shop, and then at least one championship caliber course, if not 2 or 3. And then maybe or maybe not they focus on less than championship caliber. But I think championship caliber courses are a top concern, because then you always have a place, whether it's the Pro Tour finale, whether a Worlds could come through there, whether another major could get hosted there on occasion. Yeah, I don't think any of that's far-fetched, and I think it's going to be a matter of who's going to pull it off. It sounds like there's a couple people that would like to right now.
Oh, certainly. I know we've talked about this before. I believe it was S.A. Holmes that asked, why is there like a 3/4 of a second delay on live? Just the way the nature of live is, because we're hosted out in the cloud. The way that the stream comes into the commentators and then goes back out creates about anywhere from a half second at the best to a 1.5 second delay in the commentary call times. So again, that's something that thankfully I'm fully aware of. So you're not going to hopefully hear me cheering or rooting for things to go in or out of bounds when I already know that it, from what you guys have seen, has probably already happened. But yeah, so that is kind of that's the nature of why there's that delay. Just I guess you could
got to bounce around the internets for a little bit.
Got to bounce around the internet. It's physics, man.
That's how I say it. Just bounces around the internets. Daniel asks, did you ever talk about how liked the tie goes to the lower seed at the Tour Championship? What other sports does this does it this way? Ties at the end of regulation, they keep on playing. Wrong.
Can you name another sport where the tie?
I guess it depends on how far we want to extrapolate this. To me, in a slightly larger scenario, is it not? Can't divisional titles be won that way at the end of a football game? In terms of the Packers are 10-6, the Bears are 10-6, but then they look at how the Bears or the Packers did against the Bears, and then that helps provide a seed. And then
the heads up versus divisional versus,
right? Isn't a divisional title decided that way?
I think it could be, yeah.
So again, I know that's not one individual game that ends. I'll say this, a couple quick things I'll say to it so I don't go on for too long. One, I love it. I absolutely love it. I love that what you did all season long absolutely matters, maybe more here than any other time. Obviously, yeah, it does. Like there's no better way to put it. You get points throughout the year. That is a matter of consistency. That's a matter of just purely showing up. You're awarded all those points throughout the year, and you have lots of opportunities and ways to go about getting them. People like Calvin and Chris Dickerson skip tournaments. Well, not Calvin, but I think of they don't go to the Silver Series events, and they don't necessarily even go to all the biggest events. And those are all conscious decisions that then have an outcome of where you get seated. And the fact that it doesn't do it on the final big money, final round of the entire year, that also keeps me completely sold on it. I like that throughout the play-in, the semis, the quarterfinals, all of those things, that they go to that tie of the seed. And during the final, just like we saw with Wysocki, Robinson was a 9 or a 16 seed, whatever he was, and Wysocki obviously the 1 seed. And then they had the sudden death when it came to it on the final round of the entire year. And then they went to sudden death. All the ones leading before that, I love. And what I'll last say, maybe there's not, and maybe my NFL example is a terrible one. That's fine. You could say it is. I'm guessing there's other sports that probably do really rely on a seed. I think there's a lot of probably other tournaments and playings that maybe go that way. I can't name one off the top of my head because I'm just thinking of it now. But I don't think we also have to be like other sports. And that's an easy cop out, but it's so true in disc golf.
It is.
We always have this argument right here on the show. Are we trying to quote unquote follow the yellow brick road of other mainstream sports? Yeah, in some ways we do very much follow and can admire and look up to and follow a path that other mainstream sports maybe have had success with. But in a lot of ways, we're still our own sport, forging our own way in a very early career or an early goings of just being around for 40 some years.
And I
42.
understand, like, playoffs immediately equal drama. Would a playoff be more exciting than having someone win due to a seed? Probably.
Sure.
I get it. If you're looking for maximum drama in the early rounds, then yes, that's probably the case. But there is something to be said about going into hole 18, you're tied, and you're the lower seed. You need to score on that player. You need to score on that person. Like,
you're essentially down a stroke.
You're essentially down a stroke. I mean, that's how it works out. Is it more or less exciting? I think that is all part of what the production crew is trying to transmit to you ultimately. And I mean, it's a horse apiece, honestly. Because I'll tell you what, if you get to that final hole, and let's say that is the scenario, the 16 seed is down one stroke to the 4 seed, or is tied with the 4 seed, meaning they're basically down a stroke. If whoever's in the booth and the crew and the director and the producer can't show you that drama, that the need for that scoring, that's on the production crew then, because that's no different than going into a playoff hole tied. It's the same thing. You need to score or lose. And like I said, I get it. Playoffs are drama. It's exciting. Woo, we're going to extra throws. To me, and granted, I'm a little jaded. I see things from a slightly different perspective because I'm behind the buttons here. But as Terry said, I like that the effort that you've put in all season long not only gets you into the tournament, but also gives you that slight leg up. And this year, I don't believe the seedings mattered at all. As far as who moved on, there was no ties going into the final hole, I don't believe. I don't think anyone got in with a tie and lost due to a lower seed.
Well, I mean,
I think you could argue that as the scenario is, I know I need to score in order to get past somebody, and then whatever. But when it came down to it, nobody, it didn't. I don't say it didn't matter, but it didn't make that final outcome any different. I don't believe. Not this year. I think maybe last year we saw that.
So long and short of it is, I think there was actually a motto or a tagline that was used. Points matter. And that was said 4 or 5 years ago, and that Steve Dodge had really started. And this is exactly why. And I do think it matters.
Points matter.
Yeah, and I like it. So personally, I'm a fan of it. Now, if they changed it up, would I be starting a protest? No. However, I really do. I think it adds that slight advantage and nuance to the event that makes it that much cooler. And
I've heard a lot of other different scenarios that people say, like, oh, maybe instead of starting out from scratch, you give Ricky and Paul stroke advantages and things like that. I personally don't like that, because I feel that not only clearly you're giving the best players advantages and strokes. I feel like it's easier to shoot poorly because this is what they do in golf. It's easier to shoot poorly in golf than I think it is in disc golf. Like, we're a very birdie or die type of environment, and they are not. And I think it's a different mentality. I wouldn't want to see Ricky go up, because how do you determine the number of strokes between 1st and 16th seed? Is that 1 stroke per seed?
And that's what I was going to say. Is
Like-
it, is
like,
it the
do-
seeds, or is it points?
Yeah.
Like every
does
5
Ricky-
points equals,
Yeah, does Ricky get 16 strokes on Isaac? And then what's the point of having anyone other than the top 4 play ever?
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit more difficult, again, because it's in our sport, look at this course that we played on where 6 and 7 were the best scores. If you even gave someone 2 strokes advantage, that's a huge advantage on this particular course. Huge. So that's why, personally, I don't like the stroke scenario that some people have brought up that, the FedEx Cup has throughout the season. And there's the other argument I've heard people say, and discussion point is, I think Dust has even talked about this, that, or mentioned it, that maybe he doesn't necessarily like the fact that our biggest stars aren't even highlighted until the third day. Don't you want your tour championship to bring in all the spectators? Don't you want them to see Macbeth on day 1 or day 2? And I can understand that. I totally understand. But then again, I think you've kind of earned yourself a bye. Do we really need to see them day 1? Maybe day 2. Is there a possibility, kind of like maybe what we saw in other sports, where you can, it's a little convoluted, but almost like we saw with skins, that you can choose to play the day before, but then, and it can maybe improve your seed, something kind of like, but I think that almost gets a little bit more confusing.
Yeah.
I'm, again, not opposed to it. I don't have enough kick in me to care if the Pro Tour changed it, unless they changed it to something absolutely absurd. I'm kind of like, I really like it the way it is. I really liked it as a win your card and move on, when honestly they would spread the seeds out. So you'd get a bye, but then you'd have, Drew Gibson as, we'll say, the 8 seed or the 9 seed going up against the 16 seed and the 20 seed and the 24 seed or whatever it is. And Drew Gibson then now had to win his card to move on, and you get 1 extra wild card of the best score, because we did see one year where 1 card moved on, and I think the best score was a -3 or a -4, and everybody else was shooting 7s and 8s. I understand why they moved away from that. I liked it, but I didn't fight a protest when they changed it. I think this is just another good scenario.
Yeah, I like it. Again, I'm open to other ideas that could come along, but so far I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, if someone comes up with a better idea, we're here for it. As long as I don't have to do any more work.
Yeah.
Someone asked, Ray, have you had any experience trying the Prize Picks app? They offer daily fantasy disc golf. Yeah, I've played around with it a little bit from just looking at some kind of quote-unquote competition with Skip Ace. Now, Skip Ace doesn't do that type of fantasy stuff. That's more daily pick'ems for real cash. We're more of a fantasy football type style where you have a league. But I played around early when Prize Picks first came out. Man, their lines were off, and I made some cash. I think I made $600 or $700 off that site.
I heard you. Did you say you won 30 or 40 Bitcoins?
No.
Okay.
So I made some cash, and I pulled it out. That was great. They changed their lines. They changed how they worked for a while. And then so it wasn't nearly as advantageous. And I put a little bit of money in at the beginning of the season. I put $100 in. Won a little, I lost a lot. I think I still
bought that house next door with it.
Bought the house next door with it. I think I've got $70 sitting in my account right now that I'll probably roll over to next year and maybe just dink around and play every once in a while. I'm going to probably pay a couple players to shave some strokes, and so I win some money. I mean, because that's what's worth it for the extra $50 I'm going to win.
Yep.
It makes sense for them.
Okay, I got an extra disc here for you. Just miss that putt.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
You have to not hit that line.
Yes. All right. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. I think we covered everything that was up there, and somebody else had another good question, but now I lost it. So
I do want to briefly touch on, and I don't know if you want to touch on this at all, and I'm okay with that. There was a post made by Natalie Ryan's Instagram about how she, there was a post a couple days ago where she more or less said that she doesn't know what's going to happen next year, and she's obviously pulling for a specific direction as far as trans athletes. And then her most recent post more or less said that she has maybe heard and again, I don't know if it's necessarily heard anything, or she's assuming that that the PDGA is going to announce something or going to talk about something, how maybe trans athletes are not going to be permitted in the FPO field. I personally don't know anything on the inside. I haven't heard anything. I don't think the PDGA is really, they for sure haven't announced anything. So whatever Natalie has heard is either leaked information or it's an assumption on her part, one or the other. And I couldn't say either way. But her most recent post was not very positive on the subject for her perspective. I'll say that.
Yeah. And here we know nothing more, as Johnny just alluded to. We have no other insights or information with regard to any direction, whether there may or may not be any policy changes that are in the works. If there are, I think another question that largely gets then immediately asked is, even if there is a policy change where, let's just say, transgender athletes in her position aren't allowed to compete in FPO, is that something here in October, end of October, is that something that gets implemented for 2023? And I think that's a very valid question as to when, if something of that nature were to, were to come down from the PDGA, I was going to say, or any other governing body, but the PDGA really in this case is what matters. If that were to be the case, what would the timeline look like for that?
I would make the assumption that any changes that are made would probably go into effect like a January 1st. If they made an announcement, we'll say in the next 2 to 3 weeks, any changes would I don't say hopefully, because I guess it doesn't, whatever, but would go into effect with a new season or a new year, which is interesting because we have a wraparound season with the Disc Golf Pro Tour that the PDGA doesn't really have much say in as far as that perspective, as far as the season going. But could you see, and I don't know, a scenario where the PDGA makes a decision and the DGPT doesn't follow suit? Because the PDGA, I'm going to make the assumption that the PDGA is looking at it from a sport perspective for the entire. They have to think about every division. Everything from FA1 to, FPO to whatever. Could you see a scenario where the DGPT says, that's cool for you, but for our top level athletes, FPO, we are going to go a different way. We are going to, for instance, if the PDGA says we are going to ban trans athletes, the DGPT says, all right, we are going to allow them into our FPL field. Or could you see an alternate scenario where the PDGA says we are going to allow trans athletes and the DGPT says we have looked at it and feel differently?
I would say at this case, and again, this is nothing more than Johnny and I speculating, honestly. Of course. But I would say at this case, as I go to dgpt.com, and right there, front and center in the corner as it pulls up, the way it's labeled and the way that clearly the partnership has formed and been established, it says Disc Golf Pro Tour is the official pro tour of the PDGA. And to me, just taking that at face value, that tells me that they would be adhering to
whatever
the policy.
Guidelines.
Now, we all know DGPT has heightened standards for its own events, heightened standards when it comes to payouts and certain things. Like there are things that are separate and usually elevated from a pro tour standards perspective versus any other tour stop.
And I know
Hence
Jeff,
the reason of being the pro tour.
Jeff has said in the past that there will come a day that the DGPT maybe enforces slightly different rules than the PDGA. As far as, I don't think necessarily this was what he was talking about, but maybe
it could come to
OB rules, Mando rules, something strange, disciplinary rules, things like that. That there could be a day where the DGBT and the PDGA look and treat something differently and separate. So.
Yeah, that's possible too. And I know this again in a different partnership. At the time, that was a conversation piece that was held with, Bradley Williams and a suspension or potential suspension and so on and so forth many, many years ago. So now that they are officially, I'll say, married and meshed together so much more closely, I see those being, I don't want to say just extreme circumstances in when they could ever differ, but I think they're, maybe extreme is a good word, or very uncommon or infrequent circumstances. Now, they may or may not be significant, but they're going to be infrequent if they are ever differing. Sure. I'll say that much. Excuse me, somebody else, King Heiser, just said on the board, it'll be an XA tier and the ratings wouldn't count. Right. That is not necessarily true, and I think that is worth clarifying for some people. Just because an event is an X tier doesn't immediately assume that ratings won't count or be a part of it. Now, there might be a good chance of it, because if they're doing an X tier, there might be some experimental or some, I don't call them freaky rules, but there might be something really unique or wildly off track with standard PDGA play and rules. So there's a likelihood or a chance, but just because something is listed as an XA does not automatically assume that there won't be ratings for it.
And usually, though, the reason why the ratings aren't included is because it is something score-based. I wouldn't see play,
a doubles is a good scenario where it's they don't apply ratings from a doubles event to your PDGA rating. So if it's
they should.
I don't think so.
I'm just kidding. They should.
So that's one scenario that
that's
just jumps off immediately at me. Is that to happen? So, anyway, this particular year, we'll say if it went, or not if, but I think when an announcement is made one way or the other this year, you don't see the DGBT straying from what the PDGA decides one way or the other. I don't believe that would be the case, and that's nothing more than just my guess.
I'll say, I agree with you. I don't foresee that happening for better or worse. I think we all have our own personal stances on it, but I don't see the DGPT straying from what the PDGA decides, whatever that would be.
And Spock adds in there that where incomplete rounds can happen, like match play. Is that a good example? Yeah, there's another great example of where that's going to be an XA, but clearly rounds, match play. I'd be curious, and I didn't get around to it yet, is Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship, absolutely, in my opinion, should not
be included.
Count towards your ratings. You're doing things on some of those holes in some of those scenarios based on seeding and otherwise. Mm-hmm. I do not. Now, because it's so much more of a match play / skins mentality on some of those holes. In my opinion, none of those ratings should count.
Yeah,
I see there are.
If you're down by 2 to 3 strokes with 2 to 3 to go, you will be purposefully pushing and pressing the sport and your shots in order to get to catch somebody where you normally wouldn't do that, maybe other than a final round event. So I mean, I guess if you think about it, how different is that than round 4 for an event where someone is down 2 strokes and they want to win and they're going to do something, we'll say dumb, to get there? I could understand the argument. Of course, obviously this is a different style, but I guess I could see if someone were to say, yeah, look at Macbeth on fourth rounds. That guy will do some not ideal throws and situations in order to try to catch.
Yeah, but you might have to do that on your final hole of your first round. And that, to me, isn't necessarily fair.
I agree.
So anyway, it's listed to count toward PDGA points and money, but I don't believe the Pro Tour Championship. I don't believe it should. I'd be surprised if it did count, but I don't believe that it should.
I don't think
Not
it should
that anybody's taken my vote. GBO had an XC tier 9-hole course where you played 2 shots individually and separately off the tee, and to hole completion to get an 18-hole score and the ratings counted, which I don't disagree with that.
We played that, didn't we?
No. I don't think we did.
Wasn't that the one that I won, literally? Is that where you threw 2 shots and played from 2?
Oh, that might have been the format for that one.
I think that's the one I literally won.
Or did we? That might have
At
been.
Hammond, was that that short one that was at Hammond?
No, that was at the
Flint Hills
Technical College.
Yeah.
That might have been. Okay, yeah. So anyway, I don't necessarily disagree with that being the case either, that one worked as well. I totally lost my train of thought. Oh, what I was going to say. Speaking of clarifications, Ryan says, I'm just giving examples of X tiers that had ratings count. Or they did. And
X tier does not automatically mean ratings don't count.
So this kind of goes hand in hand to some degree with, as he just pointed out, a flex start. 2 points here. One, there was a flex start this weekend that I had that I competed in.
Oh, you did play in that? I wasn't sure if you ended up going into that. Truly, I didn't know you talked about it, but I wasn't sure. We didn't.
I ended up going, okay. And then that prompted what became my I guess technically my first ever new segment that I offered up. That I will again very sparsely or sparingly, intermittently. I'll throw out some words that I don't know the meanings of. Occasionally come to you guys. I actually did have something of this nature literally 10 years ago. I think I called them mini vlogs at the time. Now they're not going to be so much. They're going to be, well, they're still going to be shorter in nature, but thank you to anyone that's tuned in. I know some of you that are here certainly were there. Every once in a while, I keep using Philip DeFranco, maybe because he does something of this nature, but not really, because he's actually well-researched and doesn't do it live. And he's got literally a team. Like, he's like a news show.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be that fancy, but every once in a while, when I have exactly, I kept the expectations low. Whenever I have what I feel like is either mildly insightful, interesting, quirky, newsworthy, just know that they might pop up more on my YouTube feed. And one of the promises, one of the core components to this is I want to keep them relatively short. I know. We all laugh. I want to keep it short. And part of that might be, depending on the subject matter, the only reason I was mildly successful the first time I did this the other night, I didn't look at the comments. Like we said, comments help kind of fuel or drive the conversation, and it can get great. The problem is I can also sit and talk to you for 5 hours over and over and over again. And I want to keep these very short. And that was my conversation the other night. And I don't want to fully regurgitate it by any means. You can go listen to it if you want. But it was a conversation on flex starts and various rules that can come about from flex starts, the pros and the cons to flex starts.
I love flex starts personally.
I think they're great for a lot of reasons. I think they also have some drawbacks. Often integrity, I think, comes to mind as one of the big challenges.
I think it's perfect for a C tier. A C tier is a great. I would not want a B tier flex start, but
and I think there's a lot of pros and cons to it. So I guess my point is this is a long-winded plug for you guys. As of right now, I'm still working on names, but it's unofficially known as the drop zone.
I like the drop zone. I do. I truly do like it.
I feel like it carries such a negative connotation, but at the same time, like, and I don't want to go all.
I don't think it does.
Bill O'Reilly, the no spin zone either. Even though there is some funny connotations to that.
No spin zone, yeah.
Within disc golf, no spin zone. But I think of drop zone as it's a negative thing. There's never a good reason to be at the drop zone. You either missed a Mando, or you went out of bounds, or you broke some kind of rule, or
I agree.
Something negative happened.
But it's just an area. I mean,
at any rate,
it's a term.
I appreciate you guys. I am with that. Also, I will always be taking suggestions. If there's something, even just like this, regarding ratings, and it's something we could talk about, or I could explain or provide some insight to, I am more than happy to do so.
All right. On to a different subject. About me again. Did you see my Twitter post today?
Yes, you.
I had a dream last night, Terry, and not like a Martin Luther King dream.
Well, it's you and hot dogs and Brody Smith, and I don't know if Smashbox After Dark can handle any more than that.
I literally last night had a dream. I woke up and it was the strangest thing. I had a dream I was playing disc golf, which I just did this past weekend, in a grocery store, like a supermarket. And I was with Ricky and Brody. And we were
you at like a Hy-Vee or an Anderson?
I don't know.
A save.
I was inside.
Safeway?
It's more like a pick and save.
Pick
like
and
a,
save.
Like a,
all right.
like a larger,
Roundy's pick
Yeah.
and save. That's a Midwestern. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And we were playing, keeping score. And when I had to keep score, I pulled out a package of hot dogs and a pen. And I wrote my score and the whole on a hot dog. So like a single hot dog, I wrote like the number 9 for hole 9, and then whatever score was on a hot dog. So each individual hot dog had a score on it.
Which is weird because there's only 8 hot dogs usually in a... No,
Listen,
there's 10.
There's 10 hot dogs.
Oh, you're safe then.
Eight buns.
Right.
Yeah. And this is something that I didn't put into the Twitter post. So I was playing with Brody, and in my dream, I took the hot dogs out of my bag to score, and I was scoring with a pen because you can't write on a hot dog with a pencil.
No, because that
Clearly,
would be crazy.
that would be weird.
Yeah.
I took the pen and I took the cap off with my mouth, my teeth, like
Blue or black pen?
I don't recall offhand.
Oh, okay.
But of all the things that like made Brody uncomfortable, when I tried to hand him the pen after like the cap had been in my mouth. Like of all the weird things, he looked at me and was like, "Really, bro?
Never mind scoring on a hot
Never
dog.
mind scoring on a hot dog. Never mind whatever." And also in the dream, we all had a conversation. Apparently, we were at a backup of some sort. We had a
backup on aisle 7.
Backup in aisle 7, folks.
Uh-huh.
We had a conversation in my dream that you should be allowed to practice putt during backups.
Well, yeah, in the freezer section.
No, oh God, no! You do that in the deli. You always do that in the deli, Terry. So in my dream, there was a conversation of like, well, should it be after a certain amount of time that you're at a backup? Like, hey, if you're at a backup for more than 10 minutes, then you're allowed to putt. Like, this was all in my dream as I'm sitting around somewhere in the grocery store with Ricky and Brody and a package of hot dogs with scores on them. So. What can you tell me, Terry? Should we be able to practice putt
my
with
friend
hot dogs?
Freud, old Sigmund Freud once said. Yeah, I mean it does pose a lot of questions, and then I think you're talking hot dogs.
Yeah, hot dogs. I love hot dogs, by the way.
Yeah, which is a dream of its own. Yeah, that. I don't know. There's a lot to unpack there, clearly.
I'm going to have to see a psychiatrist,
Brody
probably.
And Ricky. And then what I think, without segueing too much yet, Eagle McMahon announcing tonight that, he's got a longer form video talking about why he's no longer vegan.
So he can eat hot dogs and keep score on them.
I know. I'm just, that's where I kind of was like maybe trying to tie this together. That's a good question.
I don't know. So I wonder.
So you do portable baskets? Do you remember any? No,
not at all.
Were you shooting well? Do you remember how you scored on the first hole?
Not at all. I just remember pulling out. Literally, we were pulling out a package of hot dogs.
Like you had those packed, or they were in your bag, or like
it was
you
like
pulled them like off of like.
I pulled them out of my bag, like you would a scorecard.
Yeah, because they wouldn't be still fresh in the meat section.
No,
you already had them in your bag.
I had them in my bag because we were
maybe
keeping
you were
score.
Going to steal them.
We were keeping score on them, Terry. And then with a pen, wrote the number 9. I specifically remember the 9th hole or 9. Wrote the number 9 on the top of the hot dog, and then whatever the score was towards the bottom of the hot dog. And all I kept thinking, and I woke up thinking like, can you write on a hot dog with a pen? Like I would think you could. The ink onto whatever
slimy,
casing,
though. But yeah,
I didn't try yet, but I'll let you know the answer.
Have you reached out to Johnsonville about this? Because I
haven't.
I think
there's a
have.
tie-in. There is definitely a tie-in.
There definitely needs to be a sponsor plug in here somewhere.
I haven't eaten hot dogs in a long time. It's probably been
a week.
No, God, longer than that. It's probably been 2 to 3 months since I've had any hot dogs.
But to be fair, your hot dog consumption in a year, on a typical year in years past, is somewhere times 50 to 100 times my hot dog consumption.
Probably not that much.
Because I have
how many
1
hot
to
dogs?
2 a year. That might be on the high side.
Do you count
Brats?
No. I hate brats. You know that.
That's gross.
You know that. I don't like
I know.
brats. We won't get into that. Do you count hot dogs at baseball games?
Yes.
Okay, then if I go to a baseball game, I will always have 2 hot dogs.
Okay.
Because
that's 1 to 2 more than me per year.
And I go to probably 2 to 3 baseball games a year if I'm lucky.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say other than that, at the house, we have hot dogs occasionally, not often. I would say maybe 4 to 5 outside of baseball games, maybe 4 to 5 hot dogs a year.
It seems a little low for your hot dog.
No, we don't. Honestly, my wife does not buy hot dogs very often.
You were a much greater connoisseur.
Correct. When we traveled more, hot dogs were very easy to eat. They were easy to keep. When we way back in the day, they're a very cheap product to buy. So and make it was very quick. So I definitely ate a lot of hot dogs when I was younger, but now since I have someone that loves me dearly, she does not get hot dogs nearly as much.
I would venture to guess I've had roughly 5 hot dogs in the last 5 years.
In the last 5 years?
Yeah. I don't.
Oh, then I've definitely got you by
I don't care for them, and I don't eat them often.
I've got you by at least 10 to
Okay.
10. Oh God, more than that. Yeah. 20 times that.
No,
because I bet you again in a year I would say I probably eat about a package of hot dogs, maybe 10 hot dogs in a year. Because if I do sit down and have
low compared to what pace you were on.
Oh, I'm sure when I was younger, yeah. Because when I do sit down and have hot dogs, it's like, oh, there's nothing to eat. I want to make something quick. You pull out the package of hot dogs. You pull out 3 hot dogs. You cook them up, throw them on some bread with some cheese and some ketchup, and you have yourself a lunch, a 3 hot dog lunch.
Yeah.
And if I'm at a baseball game, they have the best hot dogs at baseball games.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'll have a hot dog at a baseball game. But other than that, I don't eat a lot of hot dogs. I do miss the times when I would make like the Kraft mac and cheese, cut up hot dogs and put them in there. I do miss that. I haven't done that in years. But
I had that when I was like 8. That might have been.
It's still good. I had that a couple of years ago. I'm sure we had that.
All right. So we're talking hot dogs.
We're talking Johnsonville. Johnsonville, if you want to sponsor the podcast, we're here for you. Right up the road.
I'll eat some sausages. Johnny eats the hot dogs.
I'll take the Johnsonville hot dogs.
I'll take some. Speaking of sponsors, nobody ruined this for me. You could probably actually help me out in one way or another.
No one can help you.
I've made a little headway with my friends over at Founders. We've had some conversations, slid into the DMs, and I would like to develop that relationship, Founders. So if you're listening, which you're not, but if you were, just know I'm ready. I'm ready to take that next step with you. So we'll see if we can make that happen. All right.
Nasser on the board is talking about bologna. I haven't had bologna in a long time. Like a long time, probably years and years. The other thing I haven't had that I was thinking about the other day is maybe since last time we regularly traveled, the ham and cheese loaf.
Yeah. I think I'm still over ever on that. That was a specialty of yours.
More or less like bologna with processed cheese injected into it, and that is a tasty treat.
Yes.
But I don't think I've eaten that since we used to travel and buy whatever lunch we would have. So it's got to be 7-8 years since we've done that.
Go with that.
But I haven't had ham and cheese loaf in a while.
Man, you really get me all.
And I know there's other people talking about on the board. We're all talking about different processed meat products. As you said, Eagle announced that he was not a practicing vegan currently. And do you know any more?
No, I really don't. I mean, there was either hints or just a flat out announcement of it a few months ago. We kind of abruptly saw the vegan jerky come to a very quick close over there at Double G's Jerky. But I just, before we went live tonight, I noticed that he made a post, and he just said within that post, "Hey guys, I've made a slightly longer form video about me and not being vegan anymore, and I feel great." And I'm sure he provides a lot of great insight. A lot of people are probably more concerned about it than they even need to be, but that's fine. It's out there. If you have questions, I did not watch it, so I cannot answer any of those questions.
I haven't not had a chance to watch it yet.
And depending on the length, I will click on it, and depending on what the length is, will then determine if I bother watching it or not, because those are his own eating decisions, and I can't say I'm not too concerned, but I'm not too concerned. And if he wants to be vegan, great. If he doesn't, great. I am not about to.
You and I have zero.
Yeah, we have zero leg to stand on. We're not exactly nutritionalists here.
I'm talking about the hot dogs and ham and cheese loaf.
And I'm pleading out to my friends at Founders for some double barrel aged Scotch ales.
But here is my question for you, Terry. Let's pretend you decided to go vegan for 2 years. After that, what is the very first meat product
that's a dumb question for me. It's chicken.
Like what kind? Like just you're gonna cook up a chicken breast?
Yeah,
just a flat, plain chicken breast.
Yeah, that would be good enough for me. I've also gone on record in saying I could eat boneless, skinless chicken breasts prepared in almost the worst possible ways. Even I could eat that. I feel like 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So I'm a basic bitch when it comes to that. So it does not take much to satisfy
literally
me.
just the chicken breast.
If that's all that was there, I would not complain about it.
Well, how do you normally cook your chicken breast?
I would love it seasoned, put various seasonings on it, paprika, or any kind of Italian seasonings possibly, or not. I do not care. It sounds so silly. I don't care. I will just take boneless, skinless chicken breasts. It's not quite unhealthy how much I enjoy it or would love to eat it, but if that's all you said, if somebody gave you that thing and said, hey, you can only have one thing the rest of your life, that would instantly be my answer.
Okay, but is that like your favorite meat? Like if I told you, it is? Like
I don't want a steak.
I know you're not a steak
want
person.
Veal or nothing.
Like a chicken.
Chicken.
Not like chicken parmesan.
Me and Chris Dickerson chicken.
All right.
We're chicken brothers at heart.
Okay. All right.
What would you eat? Would you eat a steak?
Probably some steak. I mean, if I had my choice of anything, and I was just like, okay, I'm going to go right from nothing to like the very best thing I can have. I would probably go to like the 5 o'clock steakhouse here in Milwaukee, which I think has the best steak in the city, and have a very, very delicious. I don't know if I go with I don't think I have a ribeye. I like the tenderloin steak, but the fillet. Probably go with the fillet. I'd probably take the fillet. It's delicious.
Okay. I would take mediocre chicken before I'd take a great steak.
My wife is the same way. She's not a steak person in general. She'll eat it occasionally if I cook it, but she would much rather have seafood or chicken before she would have steak. But
tastes like chicken, she says.
It's not what she says.
Okay.
Have you ever spent more than $150 on a steak? No, I have not. I think the most I've ever spent on a steak is like in a restaurant, $70 or $80, I think. I'd have to look. Now, granted, that's me personally. I've gone to some, when we're on work trips, by the way, next Tuesday, probably know Johnny, it'll be a Terry solo show.
Heck yeah. Yes, I love it.
So I'm not even going to be here to talk about the commentary that I'm going to do.
Oh, God, I will talk about it plenty.
Oh, I know. Because I will probably be flying back from Florida. So anyway, when we go on a travel trip for work, my 9 to 5, we go to some very nice restaurants, and I have carte blanche to whatever I want to order.
Baller.
And it doesn't really matter because it's all in the work. I've eaten some very, very expensive, nice food at these places.
You're everything that's wrong with capitalism.
I'm okay with that.
Everything.
I have eaten some fantastic, expensive steaks, but I don't believe I've ever ordered a single meal that's been over $100. I don't think so. Not like an individual entree. Definitely had entire meals. They're just me. I've had over $100. But
speaking of health and fitness, tomorrow I'm heading over to the Wisconsin Dells, which is about 2 hours, hour and a half or so, or 2 hours from me.
A little late for water slides, Tara, but I'm here for you.
If I can fit in one, I'll go. No, the Wisconsin Association for Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance, WAPRD as it's called, or AFERD, is the annual physical education show for teachers. So maybe you're a parent and your kids have a couple days off during the year because they have conferences or whatever. Well, this is where the Phy-Ed teachers go. All the gym teachers go. Not all of them. I feel like the ones that care is really honestly the best way to put it.
Okay.
Because plenty of teachers, and I'm kind of but not kind of calling out teachers, like you have these days off so that you go to these like continuing education,
Professional
these
development.
types of professional development, exactly. And there's plenty of teachers who are just like, yeah, F that, I'm going to take 2 days off. That's fine too, if that's what you really need. But the gym teachers, the Phy-Ed instructional teachers and such, that seem to be really, really impassioned about physical education in schools, those are the ones that will be at this show. They have various training sessions. It's all day long. Also, as part of this, they will go through the exhibitor hall, of which me, myself, and I will be set up and hosting a disc golf booth. I've been doing this for 20 years. I think we talked about it maybe even just as recently as last week about going to trade shows. I enjoy going to the Park and Rec show every year. That gets more courses in the ground, but then going to the Phy-Ed show every year obviously introduces it to the teachers and gets teachers, courses or information. Oftentimes, I'm then sending them to an Edge or I'm sending them to a Uplay, those types of curriculum and other people. So really excited to be doing that over the next couple of days. It's one of my favorite to go to. I enjoy the Park and Rec show a little bit more, but I guess there's going to be a social.
There usually is.
And a little gathering tomorrow night. So I'm gonna do my best to just be a team player, be part of be part of the social activities. And I get to see one of my favorite friends, Dazzling Dave. The yo-yo master. He'll be there as well. So looking forward to that. But next week, good, you're gone. I like it.
I am gone. I will be in Claremont, Florida, which is just outside of Orlando.
Oh yeah, there's a course there.
There is a course there.
Yeah, been there, done that. Trailblazers.
I fly out Monday morning. Like the company I work for is doing a small acquisition, and so my job will be to take 2 employees, lift them out of one Claremont location, which we purchased. We didn't purchase the location, but we purchased the equipment and the people. We buy people. And put them into our location with all of our other Claremont people. And I fly out Tuesday night. I think I fly out at like 7:30. So I will not be. I mean, maybe I could check in Atlanta with my layover, but ultimately,
we'd like it if you didn't.
But you know what I did do? It was
something dumb.
No, well, maybe we'll see. The rental car. I got myself a Tesla. It was like only an extra $15 a day.
Then it's a no-brainer.
Why not?
Like yep.
Why not, my friend? And I've never driven one before. I've wanted to buy one for 10 years now. I've wanted to have one, but I can't justify the cost on it. But yeah, I think I'm see how that thing flies.
That's why I'm a Rivian man, even with their recalls.
I mean, they got the recall. You can't. Clearly, it's inferior product, my friend.
Obviously.
No, just I don't know if they're running some sort of special for Hertz rental car or not, but
yeah, I think they are because I've heard of that.
Yeah, and so it was like I could get basically an SUV for the same price which is normally what I rent because I have to haul equipment back and forth. So usually I'll get like a small, crossover vehicle or something, but I figured, you know what? It's the same price as the Tesla. I'm going to go with the Tesla. I can put all the equipment I need to travel. Claremont's a very small city, so I won't be traveling more than a few miles back and forth between these two offices. Put everything in the frunk, as they call it, and travel back and forth. So that's the plan, and I'm sticking to it. And then I fly back Tuesday.
Real quick note as well then, Disc Golf Pro Tour, of course, has their end of the season awards. Lots of people, lots of opinions, and I don't know how wild they're going to get, but they have announced the criteria and the voting, which just ended last night. So I'm expecting to see some kind of a release or update here soon. But Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Most Improved, The first card, all stars, are determined by point standings, and then the second and third cards were determined by overall vote. So that took place over the last week.
I did get a vote, and I voted. I voted almost immediately when it was sent to me. I think within the first 20 minutes it was sent, I looked at everything and I voted. So
just so you know, those are all out there. We're all taken, and I'm assuming by this time next week we'll probably have the results. Also, I think starting out on maybe Monday on Halloween, it will be the first ever of the 6-part docuseries of On Tour, and I believe that's going to be dropping on Disc Golf Network. So I wanted to make sure everybody
they
knows
released
that
a
it's
very
out there.
short trailer for it today or yesterday on social medias. I believe that the first episode is going to focus around. Actually, the trailer they released didn't focus on the first episode, but it talked about Simon and Double G's event. But the first episode, I believe, is going to focus on Drew and Gannon. So
which would make sense, sure.
So yeah. So I'm assuming what you're going to see is kind of for the next 6 episodes, you're going to probably relive the tour season, a little bit more behind the scenes
Very
of what
much so.
happens. And it's going to start with Las Vegas.
Yeah, and looking forward to it. Spock says, do you think Big Money skin situation will scare anyone off from pay-per-view events that aren't established tournaments for a while? It might. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons why you could be scared off. It's not part of the DGN in general, so that may or may not raise some red flags for some people. They might enjoy that. They might not. A price point could always scare off someone. $14.95. I'm sure, if it was $5.95, would they have made up,
No.
2/3 of the people that were? Who knows? Probably not. The location, the event. There's so many things that could factor into it. Will it scare off people in the future? I guess it depends on who remembers and who thinks about it, and how many more are we going to see of them? That's another big question. And who's putting on the production? I think there's a lot of viable. Well, maybe not. There's a handful of viable people that you would trust to go then possibly get on board with a pay-per-view model. And I think there's probably either another number of companies or people you don't even know that if they put it on, you'd be far more reluctant to. So I don't know if it'll scare off anymore. But it will, at least momentarily, for those that really got worked up about it, it will leave a bad taste in your mouth.
It will. It'll be a slight.
fair.
It'll be a slight stain on pay-per-view in general. But I do think that, let's play pretend next year someone comes out with a pay-per-view. I think as consumers, what you need to do is look at who's behind the scenes. Is it someone established that is in the disc golf community? And if it's not, I'm not saying that it's not the right move, but can you look at some of the previous things that this other company has done?
Sure.
If there are plenty of live broadcasting companies that I talk with, owners, technologists, things of that nature, that I would trust running a disc golf live broadcast because I'm part of that community. But like, I had never heard of Mason Productions. I think their website is mason.agency or something like that. And they had, from what I could tell, and I couldn't see any examples, not to say they haven't done live sports, not to say they haven't done whatever the things, but I did not see any examples of things that they had done in the past. And that is a slight, I will say, from now on, it will be a slight red flag. I want to be able to see some sort of example of maybe previous history of work. So, and again, not to say that it couldn't happen, but I do believe that this will leave a slight stain on pay-per-view in the short term until somebody does it right. We've seen USDGC did pay-per-view, and you might not have liked it, but it worked out great for live.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things that just you have to we'll have to cross that bridge.
Okay, and Ray says, why wasn't their fancy Wi-Fi mesh network able to broadcast a clear signal? It was worse than DGN has ever been. I think there was, again, a few lapses in just flat-out execution more than anything.
There's that. And I honestly, as we heard over and over, 400 acres is what that place is. That's not what the disc golf course is, but that's what the entire land is. Creating a mesh network of even the size to cover that course is quite an ordeal. And my guess is that even on a mesh network, unless you're within probably 20 to 25 feet of that particular access point, it's not going to be great because Wi-Fi just is not reliable. I mean, look at it this way. If you do a Zoom call and you're on Wi-Fi on your computer, which is in your house, maybe 20 feet from your router, through a wall, and you have some issues with the glitches, imagine what you're doing when you're trying to stream a sports broadcast from there. I don't believe that the mesh network at Eagles Crossing, and I don't know anything about it, but I will go out on a limb and say that the mesh network there is not of a quality that will ever do a live broadcast from the mesh network. Not that a live broadcast can't happen from Eagles Crossing, but not basing it off the mesh network. I just think knowing Wi-Fi and knowing what I know about internet and technology, it's my job. I don't believe that a mesh network like that is probably available out there to what the extent of what they think it is. And again, that was just one small portion. They were going to hardwire. They were going to do all sorts of other things. But I mean, again, a standard Wi-Fi, home Wi-Fi is about as good as about 300 feet in the wide open. We're talking not even your house walls, not your anything. If you put it in the middle of a field, you can probably get close about 300 feet away and still have signal. And again, that's going to be spotty signal, and that's in a field. You put it in some woods, you put it in a house or a room. Everything you put in the way blocks a little bit of signal. So I would never, ever personally rely on the mesh network. It could be a very good backup. You know, if you happen to be on a cellular network like DGN does and you're close enough to the router, it hops you on the Wi-Fi, and that will work out. It'll help reduce data costs. It'll help maybe improve the signal a little bit. But I don't know. Just as a person who does broadcasting, I would never rely on that. So, and it's going to be great for scoring, because if you're on your UDisc and you want to score and you're going to get some Wi-Fi, you need very little Wi-Fi for that. That's packets, that's text, that's not hardly anything. Video transmission is a whole nother beast.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, we use video, don't we?
We do. Okay. We do some video. I mean, it doesn't always look like it. Sometimes it doesn't look like video, but we're always broadcasting video. Yeah,
we are. Also, last but not least, even though I said it on IG as we started the night, pretty cool day being the 25th. Nate and Valerie celebrating their 8th wedding anniversary. Congratulations to them.
Congratulations.
To the Dosses over there.
Congratulations to Corey Ellis, who got married this weekend.
Exactly. So Corey, congrats to him. Also Nate and Val, like I said. And then a few years ago, Paige and Grady Shue got married. So their wedding anniversary is, of course, here on the 25th. Congrats to them. And then another disc golfer who watches quite a bit as well, who's here in Wisconsin, and his brother is a famous comedian. But thank you to Rob Lee, or congratulations to Rob Lee and his wife, Becky, also celebrating an anniversary. So I'm just throwing some of those out there. I think theirs is 8 as well. So nothing more than random.
In honor of all those people,
anniversary to all of them.
We're going to give something away.
Let's do it. I think we got anniversary jerky, known as smashed cracked pepper.
There it is. There it is.
When
folks.
you want an anniversary, you want to smash cracked pepper.
That's right.
That's a new tagline for Double G Jerky. Put it in your mouth.
No, okay, yeah, that'll work.
Yeah,
put it in your mouth.
Put it in your mouth.
Yeah, not on your face.
Put it on your face.
No, jerky shouldn't go on your face.
Put it in your mouth.
Yeah. Jerky in your mouth, Barbasol on your face.
Yes.
Anyway.
Put it up here, right here. So, get it.
Put it in your jerky hole.
We're going to give, don't be a jerky. Don't be a jerky hole.
Don't be a jerky. All right, we have 160 people eligible for our giveaway. Patreon.com/SmashboxTV. If you get any value out of us, which I understand sometimes.
Does it have to be a positive net value?
No, it could be a negative value.
Yeah, you could be like, oh, I listen to those assholes on Smashbox. They don't know what they're talking about.
I need to send them money to shut them up. If you send us, if you sign up at patreon.com/SmashboxTV for like as little as $1 a month, and you'll be eligible for a giveaway. Terry Miller What number should we do? What number should
The
we
three.
draw?
I just listed off
The
three
three?
great anniversaries. There's
Okay.
others in the world
sure
probably
there is.
today, maybe. But 3 of them crossed my Facebook.
It's not 91. It's not 140. The answer is 39. I'm going to bring up the spreadsheet here, but not live on the broadcast, so I don't dox anybody. 39 is, I sorted
Dox
it
it
by
in your mouth.
address. So
Doxing you.
39 is Daniel Reynoso.
Yeah, sweet.
Udis Dan.
Udis Dan.
Udis Dan is going
Getting
to
some jerky coming to his way in Minnesota.
He's going to get Terry's jerky in his mouth.
Yes, he
So-
is, Udis Dan. We're going to have a shirt off. Wait.
No, you'll
No.
lose that. Please don't.
No, he's got neat shirts.
I know,
like
but
the
don't
shirts.
take your shirts off.
No,
I think you lose
He-
that. He looks like he's relatively in shape.
he is.
So please don't do that.
Okay.
But a shirt
won't.
off, like a
But-
shirt competition.
Yes.
I still think
Then
he
I'm
wins.
going to smash crack
but-
pepper in his face.
Yeah, you should slap him with your jerky.
Yeah, jerky slaps. Anyway, Udisc Dan, thank you for your support. We love you, buddy. You
Much-
might be
much-
still watching right now.
You never know.
If not, you're watching.
He's
the
watching
next day.
tomorrow.
So
So
we love you, buddy. We appreciate it.
Congratulations, Dan.
Send you some jerky. I know you want a pants off dance off. Been there, done that too many times.
That's another after
that's
show
why
story.
that's why there's a table in front of me. So you guys. All right, guys. I think with that, no better time than a pants off dance off jerky in your mouth. Demand. We're gonna kill it. This is it. We're done. Guys, thanks for joining. This is the after show. 426. Find it. Hope you enjoyed it. Found it on your podcast apps. Give us 500 stars or as many as it'll let you give you. Do that on the apps. We appreciate that. That
We do
helps
like that.
more people find jerky in their face, which is what we know they want. And
Everybody-
you do win every Tuesday.
Everybody wants jerky in their face.
We appreciate you guys. Honestly, all the super chatters, anyone that jumped on, all the subscribers, whether you listen on audio in an audio capacity or you're here on Tuesday nights. We really appreciate you guys. For Johnny V, I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. That's been podcast 426's After Show. We'll see you next week when Terry Bear Solo, you step inside the Smash Box.
Maybe.